All right, what is going on today, chat? Jacob, Sand, thanks so much for the follows. Appreciate it. Greg, hello. Sand, I'm glad you're excited. Welcome. Oz, I appreciate that. I try to get those Toonami vibes coming in with those old school anime intros. Glad you liked it. So welcome, guys. Episode 22. Down in the books. Super extremely hot. This is going to be a sweaty episode, I feel like. The heat wave is going absolutely insane. So hopefully you guys are staying hydrated. Hopefully you guys are staying in nice and cool. AC blasting. And we're gonna try to get through it. So welcome. Welcome. So for those of you who are coming in here for the first time, my name is Galaxia Gaming and welcome. I do what's called grade reviews every Wednesday, where I review community members' cards and assess what I think and what chat thinks the potential PSA grade would be. So without further ado, we're just going to get right into it. Fan on max. If I had a fan on max right now, you just hear me just like in a wind tunnel. It sounded like I was in a storm or something. So I'm suffering from success over here. I can't have my fan on. I am trying to beat the heat as much as I possibly can. Ramiro, thanks so much for the follow. And Wicked and everyone else, Greg too, thanks so much for sharing the live. I appreciate that very much. All right, without further ado, let's just get right into it, huh, chat? We don't want to be called Yapping City over here again. So first off, we're going to start off with the subscribers. So this submission comes in from Poke. You know him, you love him. He's been in here numerous times, if he's not in here already. Wicked, thanks so much for the corn. Eating corn the long way. Poke is pretty much driving the 90% of the time he's in here. Delivering us our chickens, making sure our Chick-fil-A orders are fulfilled. So thank you, Poke, for submitting this today. So we're going to get right into it. So, I say this every time I open up, but we always have to take consideration of the four main grading criteria when it comes to PSA, Beckett, or CGC, which is centering, corners, edges, and surface. So those are the four main sub-grade criteria that we have to keep in mind when doing our assessment. So how I normally like to go about it is first I like to take a peek at the centering. So on this Gyarados, and we also have a nice little magnifying tool to kind of help you guys in chat see what we're looking at today. But the centering on this so far is actually looking pretty good. So far, so good. The corners on this Dark Gyarados are also looking very good. So making my job a lot easier tonight. I don't see any scratches on the text, which is always good, especially for this old WotC era. But the big surprise to me is all of this pretty large surface area for foiling. There is not a lot of scratches, so that's really good. Normally you would see, especially in this like bottom right-hand corner, for example, you'd be seeing print lines or something like that that would really be standing out to us. But fortunately, I'm not seeing that from this angle, so kudos to you. So far, so good on this first edition, by the way, Dark Gyarados. So let's flip it on over, and let's take a look at the back. So the back also looking pretty good. The centering looks good. And I have to say this because there are people that have commented on this in the past that when cards are reviewed for PSA submissions or BGS submissions or CGC submissions, both the front and the back are assessed. Because I've seen a few people only think that the front is assessed, and it is, in fact, both sides. So we have to look at both sides of the card to give a proper assessment. So, centering looks really good. Corners also look very good. And one thing I will notice that it's a little bit tougher to see on stream specifically, but in certain angles, some of this kind of white edge is in fact how the picture is taken. So some artifacting or some film grain. Yes, Greg, that is true to a degree. It's not like they, if there's a big tear on the back or a big scratch, you're not just gonna like ignore it. But it is a little bit more lenient. An example is centering. So normally on the front, it's between 50-50 to 60-40, whereas the back's a little bit more lenient, I believe at 70-30. But I haven't seen that happen as of yet. So I would probably just, the safest assumption is just to think between 50-50 to 60-40, both on the front and the back. And what I mean by that, for those of you who are wondering, I mean that by ratio. So as we kind of go a little bit around here, the bottom left corner looking pretty good. The bottom right, we do see a little bit of whitening on that bottom right, but as to be expected, you honestly see that very common in modern pack fresh cards. And we do see a little bit of whitening on that right side, but that's only really the dot. Again, the whitening on this side is primarily just from the camera's flash or some film grain. So that I'm not really too worried about. But where my mouse is kind of highlighting right now, that is in fact a white dot. And as for these little white dots that are kind of within this little zoomed in circle here, that is something what I like to kind of call little fuzzies. The best way I can explain it. You could probably just wipe those off with a microfiber cloth. So I'm not really at this time, gonna really have a significant quote unquote impact of the surface grade, because I would imagine that those can just be wiped off. So I'm not too worried about that. Mike, thanks so much for sharing the live. I appreciate that very much. Okay, so now that you guys have had a chance to look at the Dark Gyarados both on the front and on the back, this is where you as chat get to weigh in on what you guys think the chat grade would be. So a poll should have just started on your device. Looks like a little blue clipboard in the top left-hand corner. So if you click that, there should be a poll in which you can vote on what you think the card would get as a PSA grade. And what happens is that at the end, I give it about a minute or so. And at the end of that minute, whatever the winning vote is what the winning chat grade is. So again, I give both my own opinion, and chat weighs in on the average opinion. So it kind of gives two perspectives. And for those of you who are new here, this is a completely new service, or free service rather, not new service. This is episode 22. Okay, so here is the front, because I saw someone ask for the front. Thank you, E. So this is the front of the Dark Gyarados. Really nice. No print lines whatsoever based off of what we see. And this is the back. So from what I could tell, really the only things wrong is more on the back than it is on the front. William, thanks so much for sharing the live. I appreciate that very much. So yeah, so if you guys are wondering, this is a completely free service. I often do these streams every Wednesday. I'm trialing a new time. Most of you who were screaming at me at the Discord that I was late. I was not late. I'm trialing a new time, so from 7 p.m. Eastern to 8 p.m. Eastern, because it gives me a little bit more time to do some editing and catch up with chat and catch up with the Discord. But yeah, this is a completely free service, and yeah, so this is how it's kind of done. What cards did we go through already? Beasting, we just started, so you are not late. We are currently working on Poke Submission, one of the subs. I am simply early. I appreciate it, Dream Scythe. For those of you who are unaware, Dream Scythe is one of the mods in both the TikTok and the Discord. Recently, she just posted a really cool plushie line, which I thought was really creative. Flygon, I feel like, is my energy all day. Drinking the Corona, or whatever that was. Can we do one more? Oh, we are going to be doing way more than just one more graphic. I think we have... Tonight, I think, is probably one of the largest submissions for grade review, because there was a lot of modern. So I think we have, let's see, so 5, 10. I think we have over 30 tonight. So we have a ton. Hey, AJ, how's it going? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. William and King, thanks so much for the follows. And AJ, thanks so much for liking the live. I appreciate it very much. Okay, so now that you guys have had a chance to vote, the winning vote is PSA 9. So chat grade is a 9. So now I weigh in on what I think this Dark Gyarados would get. So centering is really good on the front, edges are really good, and the corners are very good. So those are the big three that I can kind of look at right off the bat just on the edge alone. Now we're kind of looking at surface. So the surface of the text is really clean, and the biggest plus that you're having with this is I see virtually no scratches or print lines on this holo of the Dark Gyarados. So let's flip it over. And primarily the only things that I see wrong, and again, I kind of mentioned it before when I was doing the assessment, this kind of white glow is more a combination of film grain and how the lighting is, because I've seen this on numerous cards, and some of the cards that I've done this submission on that people have graded and given us back their results. You just simply don't see this when we look at the PSA scan. So I kind of chalk that up to that. The only two imperfections I see is the bottom right-hand corner with that little dot, as well as the center right. There's a little bit of whitening there. But aside from that, you can kind of see these 1, 2, 3 little clustering of white little dots. Again, I consider those little floaties or dusties that you can probably just wipe off with a microfiber cloth, so it's really not that bad. I think you can kind of take care of that. But in my opinion, with the one little dot on the bottom right and the little dot on the right side, I also agree that chat, I would also believe that this would get a PSA 9. So that is how we do it. So before I go to Poke's next submission, which is going to be a Dark Hypno, I'm going to catch up with chat real quick. Let's see. Centering looks... Yeah, the centering was really good graphic for sure. Sand, thanks so much for sharing the live. Where do I buy my centering tool? So the centering tool I bought, I believe, was on eBay, but you can buy them on Amazon as well. I think they're about $5. I remember buying mine for, because it's so light and it's so malleable. I just got it in a regular postage, so it's really cheap. Awesome, Thomas. Well, I'm glad you're finally making a stream. That's awesome. Can't see that with the lights off. Hey, how's it going, Space? I like the vibe. I like the vibe. I do not work for PSA Austin. I do this as a side business, Galaxia Gaming TCG. And I practically have been just assessing cards and submitting them to PSA since 2017. And I've been keeping track of like my accuracy since then. So if I think a card would get a PSA 8, I jot that down. And if it comes back as an 8, it's almost like a batting average. So I've just been doing it enough to where, I pretty much just present to you my lessons learned. That's pretty much all it's going. Yeah, I hear you, Jello. Sometimes graders are sleeping on the job or something. I just got a PSA submission back about a week ago, and some of those cards came back as 4s and 3s, and I'm like, man, I don't know what is going on. I appreciate that, William. Thank you so much. Can I please explain how they grade packs? Honestly, I don't have a lot of experience in that, Austin. So I'd be hesitant to give you any insight. All I know is that they do send them out to a third party to do the assessment. So PSA doesn't do it in-house unless it changed. That's all I know. Sean, thanks so much for the follow, and Pink Bouquet, thanks so much for following. I appreciate that very much. Rusty, thanks so much for the follow. And Utter, thanks so much for the follow. I'm not going to read the beginning of that, but that's one hell of a name. All right. So now that I've caught up, we are going to look at the Dark Hypno. So centering on this Dark Hypno along with the Dark Gyarados is equally as impressive. Corners are really good and the edges are really good. Upon further inspection with the magnifying tool, there's no scratches, there's no issues with the text, so that's always good. And again, based off of what we are seeing, well, first off, that looks like a swirl pattern to me, which is really nice. And I do not see any print lines, which is really good. So the front of this card is very good. The back, however, kind of similar to the Dark Gyarados, it's going to probably take this back a few, but this one probably a little bit more so than the Dark Gyarados. So we have some whitening on that top left, have one a little bit on that bottom middle edge, and then the bottom left, we have a little bit of whitening there as we go around. So both the bottom left and the bottom right essentially almost have like mirrored spots where there is some whitening. But on that right edge, you can kind of clearly see above and below where my mouse pointer is, there is some whitening there. That little dot right there, that little one that my mouse is highlighting, that can just probably be wiped off, I would imagine. And there's also some whitening on that top right as well. But the front, again, the front is immaculate, but it's really the back that's kind of taking it down a few pegs. So again, let me start a new poll, have chat weigh in. So that poll should be active. You should have just seen a little blue clipboard that popped up. If you want to vote on what you think this card would get as a PSA grade, just tap that and then select the grade that you would think it would get. And then at the end, that will be the chat grade. So while you guys are voting in the poll, I'm going to catch up with chat. Well, I'm glad you're able to make it here, AJ. I appreciate it. So what's a centering tool? So a centering tool is a way that you can essentially overlay a little piece of plastic over the card with like precise lines to measure whether or not the card is well centered, meaning that an exaggerated example is if, say for example, this left side is about an inch wide, it should also be an inch wide on both the left and the right. So meaning a 50-50 ratio, which also means that it's perfectly centered. So a centering tool just makes it a little bit easier to do that. You can also use just a ruler as well. I prefer either like with millimeter markers, so you can kind of do it that way. But again, here's the front, but here's also the back of the Dark Hypno as well. I apologize. Most of the issues are on the back. Can you please explain how they grade packs? I mentioned that. Yeah, I don't really understand. Like, me personally, I think grading packs is a little bit risky. But to each their own. I also understand kind of the preservation of old packs is really cool to me too. So I get that as well. TSM Bruce, thanks so much for the follow. If you're rich, get a laser to measure the centering. Yeah, I feel like I'll be like a Bond villain if I do that, Cameron. But yeah, TSM, if once I'm done with this, if you want to get a little bit more instruction, I'll probably do it after this anyway. In case anyone is wondering how you can submit your cards for free in our Discord to be featured in a future grade review, I'll explain that after this Dark Hypno. So I'll help you guys out. I'm sure you're not the only one wondering. And while I'm waiting for the final votes to come in, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight on this really extremely hot Wednesday. Hopefully you guys are staying well hydrated like a Seadra and not getting too dry like a sand dial. So I appreciate it very much. GC, thanks so much for the follow. Have you ever had mislabeled PSAs? Yes, I have, E. I've had 2. I actually also had one that I actually just announced the winner today. For a card that had a grading qualifier. So it was a PSA 8 off-center Jigglypuff. But yes, I have had mislabeled. I have 2 of them that are actually in my collection. It's not any rarer or more valuable by any means, but yes, I do. All right, so the poll is Answer, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that very much. Okay, so the polls are in. So you guys as a whole are thinking 7-6. And I think that is a very accurate assessment so far, but let me weigh in as well. So the front, centering, corners, edges, boom, boom, boom. Very good. The hollow, again, like the Dark Gyarados, there is no print lines based off of what I can see on this angle, and there's no scratches that I can see, but a nice swirl right there by the eye. For those of you who are new here, I am a sucker for swirls, and for those of you who have been here a few times, you're probably tired of me talking about it, but I love swirl patterns on the old WotC stuff. But the front is immaculate. So the back is really where it starts to kind of get dragged down a little bit. So we have, I'm just going to kind of rattle them off kind of in rapid fire here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 white corner dings. And as for the edges, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 major edge wear. Not major in the sense that I can visibly see them, but it's not like overly aggressive by any means. But the question simply becomes: should it be a light play contender? Based off of the front, I think the front is really going to save this card from being considered light play. So a good rule of thumb that I like to follow is if I think a card is light play, I kind of translate that to a PSA 6. And if I think a card is at least near mint, I convert that into a PSA 7. And then near mint plus is like 8, and so on and so forth. So the big question is, do I think this card is in light play condition? And based off of the front, if there was more scratches or anything like that that I could see, I would probably say that it would be an easy light play if there are scratches here. But again, we can only base this off of one picture, both the front and the back, because there is only one picture we can look at. But I would say, based off of what I'm seeing, I would probably give this a PSA 7, unless there is something wrong with the front of the hollow, and in which case I'd probably give it a 6. Because I would imagine that we can probably get this little white speck off with just a microfiber cloth and some of these here as well. However, if we can't, so like these little white specks here, I would probably say LP or PSA 6 if you cannot get rid of them. But assuming you can, I'd probably say a soft 7. But again, if there's any scratches or anything like that on the front of this, I'd probably get knocked down to a PSA 6. So you're just at that line, in my opinion, to getting a PSA 6. So hopefully you stay on the other end of it. So before I review this Dark Machamp, if you guys are new here, again, welcome. I appreciate you sticking around and spending time with me this Wednesday. If you want to know how to submit your cards for free in our Discord for a grade review, I have a screenshot of a pinned video that I have on my TikTok. The thumbnail reads grade review and how to. So it's about a 45-second video. It teaches you everything you need to know about how to join the Discord, what channel to submit your cards into, and most importantly, the instructions on how to properly submit your cards. For example, it's very hard for me and chat to review a card that is in a sleeve or a top loader, or even a PSA graded slab. It's very difficult for us to review. So just make sure, just so you don't get bumped out of queue, that it is submitted right the first time. There's all the instructions in there as well. Again, completely free service, but it is first come, first serve. If you want your cards expedited, so I've seen a few people who want their card that are going to be submitting their cards in the next 2 weeks, but they want their assessments sooner rather than later. The Discord also has some subscription tiers that gives you expedited grade review. So that's actually what we're doing right now. So the user Poke, who we're reviewing right now, is a sub. So he got priority grade review before the non-sub. So if you want that a little bit faster, that option is for you. But at the end of the day, it is still free, but it is first come, first serve. Okay, so let me knock that off. Clear this, and let me catch up with chat before I continue with the Dark Machamp, because I see this chat flying. I have a Pop 1 Umbreon Korean that they labeled Chinese. Well, they need to go back to school or something. Know the difference. 818, thanks so much for the follow, and Tay, thanks so much for the follow. Rack, so far, I've been dabbling a little bit more into Yu-Gi-Oh! But I only do grade review based off of what I've personally have done, just for based off of experience. So at this point, it's primarily just Pokemon and a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! From time to time. But a lot of what I'm saying can kind of carry over to pretty much any trading card. So if I don't review a card, so say, for example, you want to submit something for One Piece, everything that I talk about can essentially be carried over. It's just a little bit difficult for me to kind of know exactly what to look for if it's not Pokemon. Hey, Stanks, how's it going? And Ba, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. Yeah, of course, Rack. And if anyone has any other questions like Rack did, once I kind of have a pause in between grade review, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. And if I miss any answer or miss any comments or miss any questions, first, I apologize. It's just kind of the nature of streaming. Sometimes the chat goes a little bit fast, and I might miss some from time to time. So I appreciate your patience. Swan King, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that very much. All right, so let's get right into the Dark Machamp. Hey, Chris, how's it going? So I'm going to sound like a broken record for the third time. Centering, corners, and edges on the front looking very good. The only thing that I can see here, and I saw a little bit of it in chat, is it is slightly curved compared to the Gyarados and the Hypno. However, curvature of a card isn't the biggest issue. Because you can just, on the cheap, you can just put it in a sleeve and put it in between some heavy books or something heavy that's flat. And you can kind of leave it there for at least a day or two, and the card should hopefully flatten out. A good example of that is if you're in grade school, flattening out leaves or anything like that, or flowers. It's basically the same principle. So as we look at the card, the text is good. The holo is good. The only thing that I possibly see, this is the first time we're actually seeing scratches, which is crazy, potentially, and I can't confirm this because I don't think Poke is in here, is that there looks to be a little bit of scratching above that thumb there, but I could be wrong. So let's take a look on the back. The back is really good. The back is in really good shape. The corner, right corner looks good. Top edge looks good. Left corner looks good. Or top left corner looks good. Left edge looking really clean. Bottom corner, bottom left good. Maybe a little bit, like the tiniest dot. You probably can't even see it on stream. The tiniest dot on that bottom right-hand corner. But as we kind of go up, another one right there on the right side as well. But man, this one out of the three so far, this Machamp is probably the cleanest. But again, I can't confirm whether or not that, like right above where my mouse is, if that is a scratch or not. So this is actually going to be a really good opportunity for chat to kind of weigh in to see if you guys think that's a scratch or not. So a new poll should be up for the Dark Machamp if you want to weigh in on what you think the grade would be. Yeah, Cameron, I also agree. The condition of this card is in immaculate condition. So again, there is the front of the Dark Machamp. The only thing that I really don't know, you guys might have to help me out here, is whether or not right above where my mouse is, if that is slight scratching or not. I honestly can't tell. In the back, the only thing that I saw in terms of whitening, because the card is very well centered, was the bottom right-hand corner. I don't even know if you can see it on stream, as well as this right side. There's a little bit of whitening there. So as you guys are voting, I'm going to catch up with chat. Yeah, Chris, I'm doing pretty good. Just really hot, man. It has been like a scorcher. It's been like absolutely hot. So hopefully you guys are surviving this heat wave that's been kind of going across if you're in the States. That's what I'm thinking too, Cameron. Like a part of me doesn't think that it's a part of me doesn't think that there's scratches or something, because I kind of agree. I feel like I would notice it a little bit more. But yeah, Chris, I'm like the fact that I have to wear headphones right now is like crazy. Like my headphones are going to be drenched in sweat when I'm done with this. We got a lot of cards to go through tonight. I think I was just talking to chat. This is going to be one of the submissions that has the most. I think it's above 30. Normally, I kind of stick with 25 to 30, but there are so many modern cards and so many people who are just doing like 1-ofs or 2-ofs that I just decided, you know what? I'm going to do the 30 plus and just kind of rip through them. B, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate it very much. I got to drive an interesting car today. That's cool. What kind of car did you drive? You're kind of baiting us a little bit. I got to drive this amazing car with Elon Musk. Too bad I'm not going to tell you what car it was. All right. So while we're waiting for Chris to tell us what car he was driving, we're going to end the poll. So you guys are thinking at a majority of 9. Actually, a pretty close assessment. WV Cars, thanks so much for liking the live. Appreciate that very much. So yeah. Centering, corners, edges of this card look amazing. The holo also looks incredible. The only thing that I was kind of just talking about previously is there might be, I don't know if those are scratches or not, right above the thumb here. But let's flip it over. And then as for issues on the back, practically none. The only things that if I had to really critique is this white little speck on that right side of that border, as well as the bottom right corner. But aside from that, those are the only things I can really see. So honestly, not to try to like speed run this, but I think you guys are spot on. I think this would be a pretty good 9 contender for sure. So definitely, you guys are definitely spot on. Awesome, Joshua. Well, thanks so much for submitting that. And yeah, like I said, and what the kind of the descriptions say, I'll definitely get to it as soon as I possibly can. So I appreciate you reaching out and joining the Discord. There's a lot of cool other channels too. Dream Scythe, I don't know if she's still in here. She just dropped a really cool kind of collage of different plushies that people, I guess, dress up, which is kind of cool. As well, if you guys saw, I don't know if you guys had a chance to see the top 300 Pokemon illustrations for the 2024 contest, but some of those look absolutely amazing. There are some really cool ones for Feraligatr and Absol. So if you guys haven't checked that out, we can probably check that out a little bit later on. once I'm done with pokes, but those submissions were super nice. My favorite one, I think, out of that was the Feraligatr with a Hoot sitting on its head. That one was so cool. Yes, another first ed. And so, as we go into the Dark Magneton, so, you know, when people think, so have you, so I gotta slow down. Let me start over. The heat's getting to me. Okay, so get your pen and paper ready because I'm about to teach you something here really quick. So, when people think of Team Rocket, the OG Team Rocket, not Team Rocket Returns, but Team Rocket, most people tend to think of only Dark Dragonite, Dark Charizard, or Dark Blastoise. However, Dark Magneton is probably one of the most sought after PSA 10s of the Team Rocket set. So some of you might be wondering, well, why is Dark Magneton, out of all cards, seen as the most sought after PSA 10 contender? Because I kind of mentioned this for some other sets. So another example would be like the Snorlax or Vaporeon from Jungle, or Lapras and Dragonite from Fossil. Is because of what I kind of like to call the Holo to Pokemon ratio. So the Dark Magneton, for example, is based off of the Holo surrounding the Dark Magneton is so small. So there is a much higher Holo ratio compared to the Magneton. So the Magneton's very small, dead center of the card, and all around it is just Holo. So the moment, yes, the Lugia is also a very good example too. So, is that this card is extremely difficult to get as a PSA 10 because of how many opportunities for there to be print lines and honestly, I think I see one right there where the tip of my mouse is as I'm kind of highlighting. You probably can't see it on stream, but you'll kind of have to trust me. Is that there is some, like a small print line that goes across this. And so 9s of this card are extremely cheap because so many of them don't make that 10 cut. So the population of PSA 10 Dark Magneton First Edition from Team Rocket is very low. So with that history lesson out of the way, we still have to do the assessment. But aside from that really small print line across, the centering, corners, and edges, again, really good. And I honestly think, based off of what I can see from the holo pattern, I honestly think that one possible print line is the only thing that's going wrong with that Magneton on the front. So let's flip it over, fingers crossed. And it would have not mattered anyway because we do have a little whitening on the top right. That might just be film grain on the top left, but on the bottom left, you see a little bit of whitening on that bottom left, as well as the bottom right as well. And again, anything that we kind of see that's white on the surface, I'm going under the assumption that we can just remove that with a microfiber cloth. So I tend not to focus on it as much, which is why if you see it and I'm not talking about it, that's primarily why. So I think for that one, this one's pretty much like a 10 or bust. And I think for this one in particular, just to kind of keep things moving, with the small amount of whitening, I'd probably say a 9, maybe an 8 if you can't get rid of some of that whitening there. But it's always very, very difficult to try to get this Dark Magneton as a 10. So we'll keep on kind of pushing forward. How much does a PSA 10 go for? I honestly haven't even looked. I'm afraid to look, Joran. I've never possessed one. I've never seen one in person. But it's probably up there for sure. But yes, Chris, before I move on to the Dark Slowbro, there is a rumor that there is going to be a third kind of wave of Team Rocket, because based off of the legal documents, Nintendo, I believe, someone might have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that they were getting the copyright or the trademark. I honestly don't even understand the difference between the two. For the titles and the names for the potential set. So it's suggested that they're going to do something like almost like a third wave or a third release of Team Rocket. So thank you, Dream. Copyright, okay. Yeah, so a lot of that documentation is in the public domain. So when people talk about it, it's not like it's you know, hidden from the public like an NDA or a non-disclosure agreement. So stuff like that, that's why it kind of gets snuck out there. I'm worried to send my cards in to get graded, have original base set posted some to your Discord. That's awesome. Well, Joshua, that's what's kind of nice about doing these grade reviews, right? Is like at the end of the day, like if you don't want to go through the process of shipping your cards out, getting them graded, and then coming back in something you don't want and having to pay that money, again, this is a completely free service. So if you just kind of like want a second opinion more than anything, this is what I like to do these streams for. So why did the Japanese backs change? I always wondered. It might just be just to kind of keep up with the times. You know, the just a solid red line, it didn't really look too eye appealing. It might have been back in the day, but you know, just kind of changing it up. It's almost like how Modern decided to switch from the yellow borders to the silver borders. It's kind of just design changes and trying to kind of keep things fresh as much as they can. But yeah. Okay, so Dark Slowbro. Does anyone want to know what I'm about to say? I'm not going to wait too long, but it's almost like I've said it 4 times in a row so far. We're going to say, drumroll please, the centering, corners, edges, looking great. Looking sharp. Hey, Happy, how's it going? So yeah, corners, edges, and centering looking good. The other cool thing that I really like is that there's another swirl in the bottom left. So always gotta, if you guys ever see those swirls and I don't catch them, definitely call them out, because I love swirls. I love swirl patterns. Okay, so I don't see any print lines. I always like this Dark Slowbro with the Team Rocket grunt kind of hiding in the back. So is this rare or super? Well, I'd say it's pretty rare in the sense that first edition versus unlimited. First edition is obviously much rarer, just outright. But it's not like a highly sought after holo rare. It's one of kind of like the lower, mid to lower tier, unfortunately. But I still like it because of I always like the grunt in the background, kind of chilling there. But the front looks really good. The back, we do have some white little dusties that we can probably get wiped off. Truly, thanks so much for following the live. I appreciate that very much. And then we also have bottom left and bottom right, some whitening there. Not too bad. We also have some on the top right as well. Owen, thanks so much for following the live. And Rocky, thanks so much for following. Appreciate it, guys. Okay. So really, I'm just gonna kind of keep it on the back because most of the issues are actually on the back, and this is honestly a good time to have chat vote. So there should have been a little blue clipboard that popped up in the top left-hand corner of your device. So if you want to weigh in on what you think this card would get, feel free to weigh in, and then the winner of the vote will be the chat grade. So while you guys are doing that, I'm gonna catch up with chat. Let's see. I have a Lapras EX with five swirls. AJ, if you don't post that in the collections channel in the Discord, I'm gonna freak out. I need to see a 5 swirl card. What do you people get rid of their cards that look like this or full holo mint from packs? They keep the max or rainbow ones. I collect all of these. That's cool. It's always cool to see like or hear about different people's collection goals. You know, that's why I like grade reviews so much, is because I get to look at a bunch of cards that I just don't own myself. So in essence, I'm kind of living through you guys, so I always appreciate when you guys post. But I got a 9. I mean, 9 for anything that from like Gen 3, I think that's pretty... I still think that's pretty good, honestly. It definitely could be worse. It could be like my PSA 3 Unknown E. The E3 Pokemon. I don't think are they even doing... I don't even think they're doing E3 anymore, right? That kind of got disbanded like a year or two after COVID. I'm pretty sure. That was always such a fun event growing up. Kind of seeing, like, that was the first time I ever saw Fallout 3 get presented. Or just I even knew of a Fallout game was because of E3. And I was obsessed. Those were the days. Like G4 too. like Attack of the Show and what was the other one? I'm blanking so hard. It was Attack of the Show and another one, but it was strictly for games. I really hope someone knows in chat because it's going to drive me crazy. It was from G4. It was Attack of the Show and blank, and I cannot remember. All right, so PSA 9 is chat grade. I collect more vintage cards to some modern ones. Gotcha. Yeah, I tend to kind of stick all over the place. Because primarily I don't really even collect anymore, to be honest. Like, most of my collection is through what I sell. That's kind of how I've come to terms with having a side business plus collecting. X-Play. Thank you, Greg. Thank you. That was going to drive me up a wall if I didn't know. If I didn't know what that was. Thank you. Okay, so what do I think this Dark Slowbro would get? The front looks really clean. Not a lot of... I don't even see any print lines or scratches on the front. Really the back, I'd say primarily the only two issues that I see, because again, these little white specks on the surface on the back could probably just be wiped off with a microfiber cloth, so I'm not too worried about it. But aside from that, we do have at least 1, 2, 3... so I think the 1, 2, and 3, I think if there was at least 2, I'd be more inclined to say a soft 9. But if these 1, 2, and 3 are present, I'd probably say a really, really strong 8, more so than a very, very soft 9. I think that's really close, though. I honestly don't even know if that would be, like even this on the bottom left, kind of that little whitening on the bottom, if that is some. I think with those, I think it would probably be an 8, but it's kind of tough to tell. Yeah, I agree, Happy. So let me clear this out. And the last submission for Poke, before we move on to the next submission, is Dark Raichu. So, again, papers and pencils out, please. Dark Raichu, again, why I really loved this set growing up. I've talked about it before, but the Dark Raichu specifically was, well, let me ask the chat, let me ask the class. What makes Dark Raichu so important to talk about in terms of the vintage Wizards of the Coast? What did this card introduce to the series? Does anyone know? Anyone in chat know why Dark Raichu specifically is very important? Wow, look at you, chat. Congratulations. Look at you. You have studied. You know that the circle on the shadowed Pokemon is, in fact, a Jigglypuff from above and not a Voltorb. Look at you guys. Congratulations. Claps in the chat. Claps in the chat for you guys, knowing that it was an upside down, or a Jigglypuff seen from above. But yes, it was the first introduced secret rare of Pokemon's history. So you can see the 83 out of 82. So it was the first secret rare introduced to the franchise. So super cool. Jesse and James finally got their hands on the Pikachu, forced it to eat a Thunderstone, and is now a Dark Raichu. In addition, this insane swirl that this Dark Raichu's gripping onto its hand is about to hit you with an energy ball is equally as sick. So this card specifically is a very nice looking card. So centering, corners, edges, really good. And no print lines. Man, that's like the biggest things that I've said. Like, I feel like I've just been saying the same thing for the last 6 cards. The fronts have been amazing, but it's really just the backs that have just been having the little bit of issues. So for example, on this one, we have some whitening on that top right, top left, and a little bit on the bottom right, maybe. But yeah, I feel like that's why, honestly, I've just been kind of speedrunning this, because these cards have just been in such good condition. But yeah, let me start a new poll for you guys. What do you guys think this Dark Raichu with the energy ball coming at you would get as a PSA grade? So the poll should be up now. Again, it looks like a little blue clipboard if you want to weigh in on what you think this card would get. And then the winning vote is going to be what the chat grade is. So click on that little, or click or tap the blue clipboard in the top left-hand corner of your device to weigh in on what you think it would be. So while you guys are doing that, I'm going to catch up with chat. So I'm going to let that run for a little bit. And while you guys are voting, I'm thinking about doing a test stream on Saturday. I think as of the amount of subs that I've been graciously been given from all the support from you guys, in addition to trimming some fat financially from the business, are swirls good or bad? Sand, swirls are an addiction in the good way. Swirls are, I love swirls. It's almost like a niche within a niche in terms of collections. Because if someone says like, oh, this card has a swirl, sometimes it offers a degree of a premium price because of the positioning of the swirl. I made a video on it a while ago in my TikTok talking about swirl patterns, but they definitely are sought after for sure. But yeah, I'm going to be doing a test stream over either on YouTube or Twitch. I'm leaning more towards YouTube. But I'm super excited to probably test that out this Saturday to probably continue playing the new Pokemon Yellow Legacy Nuzlocke. So I'm super stoked to try to test that out to give you guys both an option to watch me live on YouTube or TikTok. So super excited to test that out. Because I know a lot of you guys would prefer me to be probably on YouTube as opposed to TikTok. But yeah, be testing that out. All right. You guys are thinking PSA 9. Yes, there is a swirl tax. That's for sure, Greg. So chat is thinking PSA 9. All right. So what do I think this bad boy with the energy ball is going to get? Front is practically perfect based off of what I'm seeing. There's really nothing wrong with it, so I'm not even gonna worry about it. Yeah, so the back, I think we're kind of looking at the same thing as I was talking about with the Dark Slowbro, but this time I actually only just see the 2 little white dots as opposed to 3, which is the top right and the top left. Possibly the top left, might be the angle, might not be, but that top right definitely I can see. But I think, just based off of kind of what I was talking about before, I honestly think that we might be able to squeak in through the 9, which is still really good for the Dark Raichu first edition with the energy ball. So thank you, Poke, for that submission. And for those of you who are new here, if you're wondering how to submit your cards to be reviewed in a future grade review, I have a screenshot of a thumbnail video that I have on my TikTok video, or TikTok profile rather. The video is called Grade Review and How To. So it's about a 45-second video. If you give that a watch, it'll teach you everything you need to know about how to join the Discord, what channel to submit, and most importantly, the proper instructions on how to submit your cards for review. It's a completely free service. However, it is a first come, first serve. So if you want your cards reviewed faster, so for example, if you have a submission coming up that you want your cards reviewed sooner rather than later, the Discord also offers subscriptions for expedited grade service. So right now we're about to look at J King's submission, who is also a subscriber. So thank you, J King, for the subscription. And we are going to look at, yeah, so it should be up tomorrow, Tony. I just finalized the video tonight because I had to just honestly sit down. I released the vendor POV this week, and I just needed to get that done, to be honest. So the episode 21 should be out tonight, or uploaded tonight, but then released tomorrow. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get right into J King's submission. So one thing that I will say for Modern is Modern tends to go pretty quick, which is why this episode tonight is probably going to be faster, which is why we have more submissions. Hey, Betty, how's it going? Welcome. So Modern tends to be pretty quick because unless you threw your cards down a flight of stairs, really the only thing that we're looking for is whether or not these cards would get 10s or not. Because a good rule of thumb, especially right now, is if the card would get a 9, 8, or 7, you're pretty much just better off selling it at a near mint price. So at this point, it's pretty much just 10 or bust. So the first thing that I can even tell right off the bat with this Japanese Mew EX from 151 is that the top is heavier or a thicker ratio than the bottom. So the bottom is thinner than the top. And if we look on the back, this might be either a small whitening or that just might be a lighting effect. But I think because of the centering from the top bottom, I don't think this would get the 10. So let me first clear my old votes here. And go to the next one here. Oh, and then the other thing that was special about this submission from J King. I feel like we're about to so get cozy for a second. We're about to tell a story, because this one actually has a story based off of what J King said. Okay, let me get into character real quick. So J King says, the Legends cards have some background to them. They are quite sentimental. When I was younger, I won them at recess at school. I managed to beat 12 different kids at the card game. May have been different than how it should have been played, but somehow I ended up winning. To even enter the tournament, you need to put in a big card to play. Those are the only 2 cards I know the whereabouts of. Wow. Great background story. Dream Scythe definitely should be worried to have their cards won from J King. So I think Dream Scythe actually is one of the few people that I've seen that plays the game, which I've always tried to learn, but just never had people near me interested in playing, so I never got around to it. But always pretty cool. The wager playground games. I've definitely angered a few parents doing that for Yu-Gi-Oh back in the day. I lost count how many Buster Bladers or Dark Magicians I took playing like that, but I will continue. So I think we have both ends. So we have the top and the bottom. It's always rare to see someone have actually both the top and the bottom of these cards. If you're ever in Michigan, swing by. We'd love hoarding. Yeah, that'd be cool. I remember the last time I was in Michigan was for Electric Forest. That was way back in the, probably 2017, 2018. But hey, Poke, how's it going? We just got done reviewing your stuff, and boy howdy, your Team Rocket stuff was clean. All right, so the bottom half of the Palkia Dialga Legends. Let's take a look. I went to my first tournament this week. That's awesome, Sand. Yeah, local tournaments are super fun. Super fun to go to. I highly recommend. So this was the Playground Trophy. So really on these kind of combined artwork cards, right? Those are these legend cards. It's pretty apparent you can't really measure the left to the right. Crazy busy with the chauffeur action. Well, for those of you who don't know, Poke is the reason why you get the Chick-fil-A sandwich. He is the professional poultry transporter of Chick-fil-A. At least that's what I like to say. So thank you, Poke, for delivering us those sandwiches. Tired, thanks so much for sharing the live, and JK, thanks so much for following. I appreciate that very much. So obviously you can't really measure the centering from the left to the right, but however, you can from the top to the bottom. So the top to the bottom actually looks pretty good. However, there is a little bit of curling on that bottom right side. But from side that, since there really isn't too, obviously there is a degree of hollowing. Poke, thanks so much for Let Him Cook. Shifting it up from the Tiny Dinies to the Let Him Cook. Oh, baby. The bottom half of the Palkia Dialga. So yeah, it's pretty hard to tell if there is any scratches on here. Especially the added difficulty is any steel typing. It has these not textured, but diagonal lines that make it very tough. But on the back, okay, so here is where we're probably going to get a wide variety of different chat grades. Because the back is really what's going to kind of separate this between a few different grading categories. So where do I begin? So we have whitened corners on the top left, top right, bottom left. We have some mild whitening on all corners. Hollowing. So hollowing, I guess I probably should have just said hollow or holographic. I just said it like hollowing, just because I did. I don't really know why, but just hollow is what I mean. But the big thing, and if you guys have ever seen my cleaning streams in the past, as you see all this like tiers of the 6-year-olds that J King yoinked this card from on the playground. So these teardrops, could probably be wiped away and forgotten about forever with just a Q-tip and some distilled water. So then that way the prize card always remains in J King's possession. So a lot of these little black spots can just probably be wiped away with a microfiber cloth or a Q-tip with some distilled water. So I'm not too worried about those, but it is something to consider when we do the review. So now you guys have a little bit of some difficulty. I bet that there's going to be a little bit of separation. So I have a new poll active for the bottom half of the Palkia Dialga now. So that blue little clipboard should have popped up if you want to weigh in. So there is the front and there is the back. Most of the damage, which I'm going to kind of leave on, is on the back. Again, some whitened corners, whitened edges, and some tears of fallen foes from J King. Dueling it out. So if you want to weigh in on what you think, and I'll let that poll run a little bit, I'm going to catch up with chat. We all know you're kidding, Keith. The jokester, the trickster of the chat. But yeah, your stuff was pretty clean, Poke, for sure. Was pretty clean. I always love seeing your submissions, man. You have such a cool, wide variety of stuff. It's always really cool to see. Oh, the misclicks. The misclicks. See, AJ and Sand, you guys are the graders that we all want to see. You guys are the graders we actually want. It's like, 8 or 9? Sure, why not? Give me an 8, give me a 9, why not? Yeah, again, hopefully you guys are staying hydrated. This heat wave has been nuts. I submitted what I think is a 10 Venusaur. I got my 4 kids. 4 kids been open a pack every week now. That's cool. Get them addicted. I still don't get why they didn't fix the Pokeball in the back when they switched to the Silver Edge. I don't know. The Pokeball seems fine to me, Greg. I don't know what you're talking about. How does the Neo-Gen print streak affect grading? How does the Neo Generation print streaks? Are you talking about print lines, JK? Gaslight Gaming. Now you're getting it. Dream Scythe, calling it how it is. First, I was late. Check that box off. Second, calling me out on gaslighting. Check. What else is next, Dream? What else you got for me? Call me if you have to say how much I yap too much. Or why I'm wearing gloves. That's another one. Gaslight Gloves Goo Goo Gaga Gaming. That's the name of the channel now. All of that. Yeah, print lines will affect the surface a little bit. Because at the end of the day it is impacting that overall surface because there are cards that don't have those print lines. And they're more common, or not, I shouldn't say common, but they're not just exclusive to Neo. You see them with, Team Rocket, Base, Jungle, Fossil. You still even see them in Modern. It just depends on if there's dirt and debris or whatever on the rollers. So there it is. All right, so before Dream Scythe calls me yapping gaming, we're gonna end the stream. We're gonna end the poll. So you guys are thinking, as a majority, you guys are thinking 7 or 6. So let's see, 7 to 6. All right, so what do I think this bottom half Palkia Dialga Legends card would get? So on the front, really the main focus that I can see on the front is this kind of what appears to be a curled edge on that bottom right hand corner. But the centering on the top to the bottom looking pretty good. That right edge looks good. I don't see anything wrong. And again, there's so much going on, and we can only see the one picture that it's very difficult, if not impossible, to see any scratching on the hollow surface. So we'll flip it over. So the back. So here's kind of where I will give essentially two grades. One, if you can do something about this, and one, if you can't. So aside from the whitening on all four corners and all four the left edge, right edge, and a little bit on the bottom, the big deciding factor is whether or not you can get rid of this black gunk on the back of the card. So if you cannot get rid of this black gunk, it is an easy 5. If you can, it is probably getting up into the 6, but maybe still a 5, just based off of how maybe aggressive this back is, or if there's anything on the front that we simply can't see. But let's assume that the front is actually in good condition, but it's just mainly the back. So I'd say if you can get rid of this, you're probably looking at a 6. But if you can't, it's probably as a 5. And what I'm talking about getting rid of is these like black little gunk or dirt or whatever that is. So I'm going to say 6 to 5 with those kind of criteria. Is if you can get rid of it, probably a 6. If you can't, it'd be a 5, would be my opinion. All right, so now we got the top half of the Palkia Dialga Legends. So it's kind of funny. It's almost like mirrored, where the centering is good, but we do have a little bit of a lip there on the bottom left. But aside from that, maybe some dirt or something on the arm of the Palkia, but I'm not too sure. Manny, thanks so much for liking the live. I appreciate that. But aside from that, Dialga's looking pissed. But let's flip it on over. It's honestly kind of the same thing. Weirdly enough, it's almost like the same issues are applying to the top half as it was in the bottom half. So honestly, just to kind of keeping on, it's probably like the same grade, to be honest. 5 or 6 probably, because it literally almost looks identical, but just mirrored. The dirt's still there. The whitening is still there. Yeah, I mean, if they're going to be combined, might as well have the combined grade, right? Dreamside, thanks so much for sharing the live, as always. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. And then anyone that I normally say this a little bit more, but if anyone that has followed or shared or liked the live that I missed, I apologize, but I also appreciate it. So thank you so much for the support. Again, I do this as a free service. And I try to frame my channel for supporting you guys as the community. I think there's not a lot of people that do content like this, and I love looking at your guys' collections and just nerding out for a little bit and just chilling, just kind of having fun, hanging out, looking at some cool cards. So I definitely appreciate it. That wasn't on purpose. Water from the dishes. So the like was also the water. And then now you're going to say that the water that's hitting your phone is going to order a bunch of Vaporeons from TCG Player and get them expedited. That dang water on the phone making silly decisions for us all, huh, chat? It's like, oh, I accidentally bid on that eBay auction. Dang water on my phone. Yes, the Pikachu is definitely looking into the sun. Yeah, I love that meme, Young. Like they're washing their hands and the water drops on there and they're like texting everyone throughout their entire contacts. And then like old school Drake kicks on and it reminds you of their ex. And then you get all in your feelings. All because one water droplet dropped on your phone. The water share did remind me that I can like on mobile. Yes. Yes. And hopefully we get to, like I said, hopefully we get to trial some multi-stream this weekend. I've been itching to continue my my Yellow Legacy Nuzlocke. I just been such in like a business mindset that I haven't had a chance to play that game. So super stoked to try that out. All right, next up is the gold medal Pikachu from the Ultra Premium Collection. So let's take a look. So the only reason really why I'm looking at this metal card specifically is I have actually graded some of these myself. Excuse me. So I actually have if I can pull it on screen. So this is one of the Pikachus that I have personally submitted on my own. So this will be like a nice little baseline on what you should really be looking for when it comes to submitting metal cards. So here's the front and then here's the back. So really the big thing that I'm really going to be looking at is the kind of this edge here to see if there's any scuffs. Hey Alexander, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. And we do have a little bit of a ding here. So I saw this pretty commonly and pretty consistently with the 12 that I submitted for both the Pikachu and the Charizard, and some of them that did come back as a 9. So if we look at these, so we do see that same little dent there on the top. But in addition, we do see some scuffs on that bottom plate, which was also pretty common in some 8s that I got. And so if we flip it over, here are some other things that I saw in some 8s as well. So you do see some chipping on that bottom left as well as on that top. This might be a piece of dust, but I don't really know if it is or not. As well as that top right, or on that middle right. But I think because of that bottom left and some of this kind of scuffing on the edges, I don't think it would get the 10 or even the 9, just based off of the one that I've submitted. So this one, again, this one's mine that I've submitted. And I don't have any of that bottom scuffing or on the back. If we can kind of look in that bottom left-hand corner, there isn't any obvious like gold that would be shining through. So I don't think that would get the 10 or a 9, probably even an 8, unless you can kind of get rid of some of these like prints, or I don't know what those are on those edges, but really that back corner right here is really what's kind of setting you back. They did Dream. They stopped taking them for a little bit because I think it was because he was either damaging the card or damaging the case, because the case didn't have enough tolerance to have the thicker cards. But yeah, they suspended it for a while and then they allowed them through again. And when I heard of that, I just submitted all of mine all at once. It's like, screw it, I'm just gonna do it. Try to be first to market. You didn't miss too much, Bill. Bowl cut Bill. But yeah, I'd probably say like an 8 would be my guess for that one, because just based off of my own submission. So now we look at the Zard. Will microfiber cloth fix that dent? Yeah, you imagine. Just like bend it back in place. Just chisel it out. I'm doing great, Alexander. Just hot. This heat wave has just been killing me. My cat is like fully sprawled out in the window. Definitely feel bad for the furry pets for sure during this weather, because they just have to wear a fur coat the entire time. But I had the fans on her today. She's been chilling out, hanging out in the window, catching bugs, so she's living her best life. But yeah, hopefully you guys are trying to survive this heat wave. Okay, so. Oh, man. It's making me tired too. But we got to press on. The front looks kind of good, I think. I don't know what that is, but I don't know if that's just the light, because again, this is metallic at the end of the day. But on the back, really the big cause for concern for me currently is this scuff on the top, as well as the TM almost looks scrubbed off. I don't know if you guys can see that on stream, but it literally almost looks like it's worn off. In addition to, this might be some edge issue just base it off of being metal. But it's really just the back. The back is what's kind of dragging this down. So, I'm not too sure. Gry, how's it going? But yeah, I don't think this will get the 10 either. There's just a lot of scuffs on here too. So yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents. So I would say if you're trying to submit that Pikachu or Charizard to try to get the 10, I don't think it would get the 10, unfortunately, because again, this was my 9. This one is what I submitted, and it does not have those main issues that we saw in the back of yours, up here on the top and on the bottom. Ugh, 100 degrees. That's awful. Sometimes you just have to scream the yawn out, right, chat? Sometimes, I don't know if you guys are the same. But man, when I just, like, get a chain of yawns, I just have to, like, scream them out of my body. Because it gets annoying sometimes. It just gets annoying just yawning constantly. But anyway. So that was Pokes and J King submission. So thank you both to the subs for submitting your cards for the grade review. Now we are going into, it's almost like we're about to go into like a rapid fire review here, because next we have Netsker. I am a Pokemon card creator to my fan-made cards and a stream gamer that asks different streamers. Well, that's cool. So you make your own Pokemon cards? That's pretty cool, if I'm understanding that correctly. I'm always a fan of people who do art for Pokemon. Alright, so first, I think this is the first, like, high resolution. Hey, Pokepick, how's it going? Sends the Heart Puff. Thank you so much. Dang, double Heart Puffs. Yeah, yours is finally up for grade review. Hopefully you're excited. I think yours is towards the tail end, so we got a little bit of ways to go, but we're into the non-subs, but we're saving the best for last, as they always say. That's what I'm hoping too, Dream Scythe. I hope they do get submitted as sequential. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, it's so high res, it's hurting your eyes. It's like you're staring into the sun. So yes. But yeah, this was the first high res scan that we've seen, which is kind of cool. So, before I continue, if you guys need to turn down the brightness, I don't mean to flash bang you with this Chansey, which is one away from, I believe, Pink, you said that your favorite Pokemon was Blissey, correct? So we got the pre-evolution to Blissey here. Yes, Untoten. I have had that happen recently, where it just kind of sits there. Yes, Tired. Thank you so much for finally joining. Welcome. All right. So, without further ado, let's get into this. So, who wants to... So, I know that not everyone knows, but does anyone want to know what makes this Chansey specifically unique? Does anyone know? I'm sure most of you do, but sometimes people don't. You can't... Sometimes you can't assume always. Because someone about almost a month ago said, hey, this does PSA grade the back as well? And I had to say yes. PSA does grade both the front and the back. So, really the only thing that's unique to the Chansey specifically, yes, is that it is shadowless. So if you guys don't know what shadowless is, the right edge of the card, when Wizards of the Coast was trying to mess around how they wanted to print their cards, is the right edge does not have a shadow. So it is called shadowless. So there you go. So the more you know. Insert random shooting star with rainbows coming out of it here. Alright, so let's take a gander, shall we? The centering is looking pretty crispy. The edges, however, which is super nice about these scans, right? Hold on, let me zoom in so you guys can... Yes, I'm definitely... you definitely caught me. Definitely caught me as those millennial vibes, for sure. I was just talking about watching X play an Attack of the Show on G4. No, JS. So it was Shadowless First Edition, Shadowless Unlimited, and then Shadowed or just Standard Unlimited. So we have some nicks on the top, and this is a good example of what we call silvering. So silvering, for those of you who want to nerd out with me for a second, how late am I streaming? I'm probably streaming until 10 or 11 Eastern. So I got another like hour and a half. So I'm chugging. So if you want to come back later, totally get it. Because I think yours is towards the end. Yeah, so silvering on the top. The blades were a bit dull at the Wizards of the Coast factory, so they did not want to, didn't really want to clean their blades or change them out. So as a result, the more use they got, the more the blades got dull and just started chipping away at that yellow layer. Sounds good, Pink. I'll catch you later for sure. So yeah, so as we kind of go along the edge, if we see that, it's most likely silvering. So we see some black chunks here. Looks like just dirt. But I think primarily it can just be cleaned egg. Probably just be cleaned with a microfiber cloth, honestly, because it almost, I don't know if it's just how the scan was taken. But like, for example, you can kind of see where it says said and to bring. The said is much bolder in black, whereas the to bring is a little bit more gray. So I don't know if that's just residue or what. But if it is, it could probably just be wiped off with a microfiber cloth and a little bit of distilled water. So as we flip this over, the centering is still good, but we do have some whitening on these edges here too. So you have some on that right side, the top, middle. We also have some, looks like some Tabasco sauce or something. I have no idea what that is. We also have some whitening on the bottom, the left, the right. There's a lot going on with this Chansey. So yeah, so with that, I just started a new poll. So if you want to weigh in on what you think this card would get as a PSA grade, if you want to tap that blue clipboard in the top left-hand corner of your device to weigh in on what you think this card would get graded as a PSA. So again, here is the front of the Chansey. I got some dirt a little bit, some slight whitening or silvering rather on the edges, but on the back is primarily where most of the issues reside. So we have some whitening on all the four corners, all edges, in addition to either Tabasco sauce or something on that back. Yeah, so while you guys are voting in the poll, I'm going to catch up with chat. Oh, it's never good to hear, Happy, hearing a bent in half shadowless Chansey. Pink, thanks so much for sharing the live. I appreciate you. Thanks so much. Back left middle. So back left middle. Are you talking about this right here, where my mouse is? Veer. Back left middle. Either that or here, but I'm not too sure. Gotcha. Okay. I did not take the scan, Gem. Someone actually went like above and beyond bougie with submitting a card for grade review. They just had, just had a scanner. So I'm just gonna scan these real quick. But it is kind of neat though. That's like probably my next bigger purchase for the business is to get a scanner, especially for raw or ungraded cards. Because I've seen a bunch of people, it doesn't damage it at all as long as you just have it at the correct settings. It doesn't do any damage. Alexander, can I edit my image post to be a different card before we get to it? I really want to know if you can think I can upgrade a slab. So Alexander, just to be transparent, I no longer review rather anything that's graded, because it makes it a little bit tougher for us. It's almost like if it was in a top loader or a sleeve. But if it's not graded, then I can probably work with you a little bit. But if it's already graded, then unfortunately I can't look at it. Because I've already ran into too many instances where the case, like the PSA cases were scratched, and it just made it very difficult. Yeah, I've seen that one for sure, Gem. For graded stuff, I believe, if it's the one I'm thinking of. All right, so chat, you guys are thinking 7 or 6. So 7 to 6. So let us take a look. Just apply for a job. I'm a little bit far young. I don't think I'd ever want to work with, like, work for PSA. Man, that'd be rough. Okay. So centering looks good. Corners on the front look okay, with the exception of the top left. Edges are a little bit rough with some silvering, and we do have some surface issues. Kind of some dirt here, some dirt there. So let's flip it on over. And from what we can tell, most of the damage on the corners, the edges, and some dirt, it's pretty all over the place, to be honest. So I'm thinking if we can't get rid of some of these, like these smears or dirt marks or Tabasco, I don't even know what this is, like this Tabasco stain, then we're looking probably, and it'll probably still be my vote anyway. I'm probably thinking a 5 would be my guess on what this Chansey, if we can't deal with that, deal with those issues. The barbecue sauce. I actually had, it's funny you say that. I actually had a hollow Alakazam back, like probably like 2 or 3 years ago that I bought from a collection that literally was dipped in barbecue sauce. It smelled like barbecue sauce and it was all over the corner. And I probably took about a half an hour cleaning it off. And when I submitted it to PSA and it came back as a 9. So I was super stoked about that for sure. All right, so this is on top of the sleeve. So thank you, Netsker, for your Chansey submission. So next up, we have a Pop 3. Pop Series 3 Blastoise. Is a 0 possible grade? No, unfortunately not. No egg for you, Maker. But PSA 1s are... We've looked at a few potential PSA 1s on these streams. Riri, thanks so much for the follow as well. I appreciate it. Yeah, people try to strive for the PSA 1s or the anti-10s. And Chris, thanks so much for the follows. I appreciate everyone who has followed and shared and liked the live so far. It really does mean a lot. Again, I do this as a free service to the community. There's really nothing I'm selling here. I just do this as a fun hobby in addition to my small business. So super fun to do this with you guys, and any feedback that I get for follows, shares, and likes is definitely good feedback for me, just to let me know that that you guys like this stuff. So I really appreciate it. All right, so let me clear the old grades, because this is definitely not a 5, at least I hope not, but we haven't looked at the back. So let's hope that it's not a 5. I will say that is a little off. I think it's like the first, like, more obvious off center from what we've seen before. The bottom is a little bit thicker than the top, but aside from that, having this be non-hollow, there's not much else we really need to look at. So if we flip it over, yeah, we do see some whitening for sure. So that top left, I can kind of see on that, have some whitening on the top left, that left edge, the bottom left corner looking pretty good. Let's see, that bottom right side though, does have, because just based off of the rest of this bottom, so you kind of see that bottom edge, we're like good, and then all of a sudden you see this big chunk of white here. So that might be like a slight curling of the edge. I'm not too sure. But then as we kind of go up this right side, really the only thing that I'm seeing is the top center, a little white dot, as well as the top right corner as well. But I'm actually seeing a few different votes in the chat. So I started a new poll if you guys want to weigh in. Seems like you guys are going to be split here, because I see some 8s, I see some 7s. So that poll should be active now if you want to weigh in. Should be in the top left of your phone. Should look like a little blue clipboard. So as you guys are voting, I'm going to catch up with chat as always. Bill, I got 3 base set, 2 Zards. Need to submit. That's awesome. Let me guess, that's still from the house that you renovated, right? your renovation hall. Yeah, that's why I had a feeling it was from the renovation hall. Do you want to do a little game? I guess it depends on what it is. My Zard would be a 3 used heavy play. Yeah, I mean, I think like everyone's Zards are very well loved. Hopefully soon, user. I'm hoping to get, because it's been like more than popular demand. I'm getting some feedback still, and then once I do, I'm gonna reach out to one more person because I have a submission coming up that I'm gonna test, and then after that, I think I should be ready to open it up. It'll probably be very limited to start. It'll probably be like maximum of 3 cards per person, just because I just want to get the logistics down in more of like a production setting. But as I get more comfortable, I'll make it, you know, from 3 cards to 5 to 10 to unlimited. But yeah, hopefully very soon. I keep saying that, but I definitely mean it. Have you ever guessed the Pokemon? All right, as long as it's appropriate, Maker. As long as it's appropriate, I'm down. Have you ever reviewed tiles? I have the February Chansey Lickitung one. I honestly have no, like, to be honest, I have no idea what you're talking about, but that seems really interesting. I mean, I sent you some cards to clean and grade, help your journey. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely down. I'm definitely down. You know, and it's kind of nice too, because like, you also don't have to like worry about it either, and like because I have all the stuff for it, so kind of makes it a little bit easier. Hanafuda. Yeah, I honestly have never heard of those. It'd be cool to see. All right, chat. You guys are thinking between 7 to 6. So 7 to 6. So let's take a gander on the front. I think really the big thing is the centering from the bottom to the top. And that little bit of dirt. But I think we can probably get that cleaned with a Q-tip and some distilled water. So I'm not too worried about that. But really it's the back that I have the most issues with. Notably the top left corner. The bottom right-hand corner probably is the biggest one. As well as the middle left and the top right. So I think I kind of agree with chat. I think that's probably, if I were to kind of separate between the 7 and 6, I would think that it would primarily weigh more on the 6 side than the 7. So I also agree that I think that this would probably get a 6. I'll definitely have to check them out, AJ. Do you actually own any yourself? I say the category and you ask for regions, type, height, weight. All right, go for it. Rip it. Let her rip. But just know you might have to re-ask a few times because I got to keep on keeping on. With next, Tired. I think if you're in here still, you are up next, my friend. With some OGs. The meteorite. I can't remember what that name is. It's like the one from Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon. I honestly like can't recall Sun and Moon Pokemon names by like heart. But it's the one that like only has like no evolution. I would say probably Alexander. If you don't like, if you just want to have just like a general opinion, I'd probably say the media channel would probably be appropriate. But yeah, you're more than welcome to post it in the media channel for sure to have community members weigh in on it. I just won't do it in the grade review. But yeah, that should be fine. Meteorite. Unless you're trying to hit me with a technicality, and it'd be Chansey, or not Chansey, Clefairy. Either Clefairy or Clefable. Because they quote-unquote come from space. But, alright. So, next up, we have Tireds. We got some, so we were just looking at some Team Rocket before with poke submissions. Now we got some Team Rocket for Tired, for Japanese. So really, I think, because, okay, so here's the backstory for those of you who want to know. So the backstory for Tired was bought all of these from my local store for less than $1 total. So if I'm understanding that correctly, so the Vaporeon, Flareon, Jigglypuff, Victory Bell, and Drowsy were all obtained for the grand total of $1. Pretty impressive if I do say so myself, if that is the case. Yes, that is a steal. Eevee is just evolution, but Eevee. So it's an Eevee. So I'd imagine it'd probably be Meteor. What was it? It wouldn't be Umbreon, would it be? So 15 of these for $1. So these are just 5 of the 15. Yeah, because the only Meteorite, unless it's like Metagross or that like evolutionary line, like Metagross, Clefairy, Clefable, the one from Sun and Moon, or Deoxys. I'm just thinking of a space. But if it's none of those, I really have no idea. Oh, Solrock, duh. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so centering actually is pretty... actually, I take that back. It's a little bit thicker on this left side than it is on the right. But I would definitely say... Because I think... Can you confirm, is that a light line? It looks like that's just like a light reflection. You might be able to, and that's what's kind of nice if you guys ever decide to do grade review. So I'll always let you know when I'm about to review your card for grading. I'll always message you beforehand. So it's nice because Tired should be in here still, hopefully. So this, for example, from what Tired is saying, is not light, but is a scratch. So it's nice because we can kind of get like a live update here. That's what I'm thinking too, Maker. It almost looks like an eraser, but I'm more pressed to think that it's light. It goes all the way along, but it's mostly light. Okay, so it's bad enough to where it's bending the light to make it thicker than it is. So I'd say besides like all of that, Gryo, okay. Yeah, I would, like, because that's pretty aggressive for sure. Because if I can see that from a, like, if that's a bend or something like that. Sounds good, Happy. I'll catch you later. Thanks so much. Ban me from media. Oh, if you posted more than 6 and 15 seconds, that's probably why, Alexander. That's all. It's just meant to prevent like people from spamming and stuff in case someone's account gets compromised or whatever. That's honestly why it's there. So as long as you post like 6, like less than 6 within 15 seconds, you should be good. But yeah, I would say if that's a scratch to make that bend that bad, you're probably looking at a 4 just from the dent alone. Would be my guess. But aside from that, what did we say, chat? A good binder card. So the Flareon, I think you said something about this Flareon too, if I remember correctly. Or maybe not. Oh yeah, you did. And just to help you on the grade, the Flareon has a pretty bad cut on the bottom right in the text box that the camera didn't pick up very well. I'm thinking you're talking about this right here. Like where like the description would be with a 1700 Celsius. Yeah, okay. So if that's pretty bad, that's especially on the front too. Yeah, I'd probably say if that is as bad as you're saying it is, you're probably looking at like a 5 if that were the case. Like if it's that bad. Because the rest of the card looks pretty good. So either a 6 or a 5, depending on like the severity of it. But that'd be kind of like my like quick assessment. If we can't see that that spot. The Jigglypuff. This Jigglypuff looks nice so far. Yeah, for sure. Gryo. Let's see. Centering of this Jigglypuff looks really good. And there's nothing notable that I see on here, so that's always good. This one I think might be, unless there's something we don't see, Tired. I think this one is probably your best condition one so far. Because I think that this little white speck could probably just be wiped off from what it looks like, and it's centered really well from what I can tell. Maybe it kind of almost looks like it might be just like the angle in which the picture's being taken, but it almost kind of looks like this red line kind of gets thinner as you go down. But I think this one's probably your best shot at a really good grade, unless there's something else that I can't see. So that might be like, I'd say probably like a good 8 or a 9, because I do see some like weird like surface buffs or scuffs, or I don't know what that is. It kind of looks like. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, Gryo. It looks like it's like thicker on the top and it kind of goes down to the bottom here, like this left side. But I don't know if that's just like the angle or what, but it almost kind of looks like it like curves towards the end. But that one's definitely really good. Probably if I had to give it a grade, probably like an 8. Because of that like weird little bend at the end. And then yeah, it's weird, right? And then the centering of this Victory Bell looks really good. And man, I honestly think it's just like how the pictures are taken almost, because this Victory Bell kind of looks like it has that same kind of like weird curve towards the end as well. You guys see that? It goes like kind of like nice, and then it kind of boop, kind of curves down a little bit. It's weird. So have you joined the Discord, Gryo? If not, I can explain how to here in a second. But the card looks pretty good. Yeah, it almost looks like it just might be just like the angle in which it was taken. To be honest, but this one is in really good shape. This one probably the same thing as that Jigglypuff, for like 8 or a 9. Unless this like weird curved thing is actually on the card. But based off of it being both on the Jigglypuff and the Victory Bell, I'm kind of hard pressed to think that it is an issue on the card itself. I just think it's how it's probably was taken. And then the Drowsy. Do you guys ever, I guess as a sidebar, have you guys ever played the original Pokemon Stadium and the mini game of the Drowsies trying to put each other to sleep? That was probably like one of the most like complicated games to like understand whether or not you were winning or not I ever played. Like, oh, like my Drowsy is like awake, and then all of a sudden I'm just done. Like I'm donezo. He's asleep already. It's like I literally did everything I could, and my Drowsy's just lazy. Like, how did I lose? I have no idea. But I love those mini games. Those are so fun. But yeah, this Drowsy looks pretty good too, honestly. Unless because you didn't really comment on anything else that was wrong with it, so it looks good, to be honest. There's a little edge wear on the top right corner I didn't notice before I sent it. The top right. Let's take a look. I mean, based off of what I see from the picture, the top right, I can't really see much. Unless it's on the back. But yeah, I mean, if there is, like, if I have to kind of take your word for it here, if there's a little edge wear on the top, you're probably, like, depending on the severity of it, which, again, I can't really see, so I'm assuming it's not really that bad. You're probably looking at a 7, maybe a 6, would be my guess, depending on, like, the severity of it. Hey, RQ, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. What is it? Like 5:30 for you or something crazy? Something absolutely wild. But But yeah, I mean, I would say for getting these and 10 other cards for $1, Tired, I think you did pretty good, my friend. I think you did pretty good. That's what I'm saying, Tired. I would definitely take that all day. I would take that all day, every day. For sure. So congratulations. Between you and Bill Cosby with the house renovation, you guys get some crazy cards in some crazy places. All right, so I will load up O states here. And then once I am done, I didn't forget about you, Gryo. Time to feed animals. There you go. The true farmer over here. So yeah, so for Gryo and anyone else that is wondering, there is a way, if you want to have your cards reviewed in a future grade review, there is a screenshot on screen now on one of my pinned videos on my TikTok channel called Grade Review and How To. So it's about a 45-second video. If you watch that, it'll teach you everything you need to know about how to join the Discord, what channel to submit your cards in, and most importantly, I cannot stress it enough, the instructions on how to properly submit through the pinned messages. So for example, it's very hard for me and chat to review cards that are in top loaders or sleeves or slabs if they're already graded. So just make sure that you follow those rules, because this service is free, but it is first come, first serve. However, if you are about to submit to PSA, BGS, or CGC, and you want your cards assessed fast, that was let's see. You guys should hear me now. I think something hit. There's a pretty big storm coming my way. I'm hoping it doesn't knock my internet out. So we'll see. We'll cross our fingers. We'll hope that the weather stays up. But anyway, if you want your cards reviewed expedited, you can join the subscription. It also, all the funds and donations and everything like that goes right back into the stream. So I definitely appreciate all the support, and that's how you submit. So we'll just keep on keeping on before my internet goes out. So we're just gonna keep up the pace here. This heat wave has just been nuts. And I feel like it's gonna rain here anytime soon. I have a thunderstorm warning on my phone, so that's probably what's coming. All right, so the Dark Arbok. Let's take a look. So I believe it looks pretty well centered. The edges and corners look pretty good. And the hollow foil actually looks really good. The Dark Bok. Does anyone know what Arbok spells backwards? The most creative name ever in Pokemon. So the hollow actually looks really decent. So let's flip it on over. So as always, guys, it seems like it's notorious. We have some whitening on the back, this top left-hand corner. Look at that. Good job, chat. Cobra. And what is Ekans? And what is Ekans? So we got the top left, and then the bottom right. My ex. Man, that was witty, artistic. That was witty. I'll definitely give you that one. That's pretty funny. Yeah, so it's really just the whitening on the top left here and the bottom right. So while I catch up with chat, just make sure that my internet's not about to go out again. I just started a new poll that should have popped up in the top left-hand corner of your device as a little clipboard. So if you want to weigh in on what you think this card would get as a PSA grade, tap that little clipboard and you can weigh in on what you think this Dark Arbok would get. So there's the front and there is the back. What app is that? So there's actually not an app. This is just a bunch of stream like overlays and a bunch of other cool stuff. But if you're talking about this little magnifier tool, so this is a Chrome extension called Grade Review. I'm like on autopilot. is a magnifying glass. Magnifying glass hover tool. It says my site is down. My website's down? Gryo? Let's take a look. While you guys are doing that. It's up on my end. If you're talking about my website. But, yes, Discord's how you upload. Yeah, it looks to be up on my end, Gryo. Oh god. First his site's down, now he has a knock on his door. That's not good. He's getting infiltrated, chat. I got a Lugia Altar. It's not a great picture, but how do you give it to you to look at? Yeah, so if you just go to so while you guys are voting, so if you go to my website, this is like the quick and dirty way. So if you go to my website, galaxiagamingtcg.com, the website's also pinned in my bio on my TikTok channel. If you go to my social section, just click on the Discord icon, and there's a grade review channel once you've verified your account that you can post your pictures in. Officer Jenny shows up. What kind of story are we telling here, Artistic? Next going to be the pizza delivery man and the plumber. All right, so let's see what you guys are thinking. So chat vote is PSA 8. So apply that real quick. All right, so what am I thinking? So I think honestly you guys are pretty on point. No, not at all, Sand. It's like I said, it's a completely free service, but it is first come first serve. And the other thing that I also note is like, so for example, if you submit 20 cards into the grade review, I only review a maximum of 5 cards per week. So for example, if you submitted 20 cards, it would take about 4 streams for all 20 cards to be reviewed because it's 5 times 4. So let's take a look. AJ, my guess is unknown. Unknown is the Pokemon. That's my guess. So the front's actually looking really good. Well-centered, corners are good, edges are good, hollow is good. Then the corners, the top left and the bottom right, those are pretty much where most of the problems lie. And I think just based off of how obvious this one is, the bottom left or the bottom right and the top left, I want to say it's either between an 8 and a 7. If this is actually like aggressive whitening, it'd definitely be a 7. But if it's not, then it'd be an 8. But I'm thinking it would be a 7 for sure. If that is as aggressive as I'm seeing it. AJ, you know what you actually reminded me of? Kind of going back to the mini games for Pokemon Stadium. Did you ever play the Lick-a-Tongue mini game where you had to like eat sushi and like spice rolls and stuff? Do you know what I'm talking about? I really hope you do. Okay, good. Whew. Thought I had to educate. The every time the Lick-a-Tongue would eat like the spicy like wasabi, the whoo, wow, 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 the noise the Lick-a-Tongues would make would be so funny. Or when it burned its mouth, ooh. Oh man, I remember I was awesome, Sandwy. I appreciate the kind words. It really does mean a lot. Again, I just offer this, you know, there's obviously ways that if you want your grades done faster, I have subscriptions on the Discord channel, but at the end of the day, it's completely free. So if you just like it for fun, that's why I do it. For people like you and everyone else that just likes to just have fun, hang out with the community and learn a little bit on what graders look for. I definitely appreciate the kind words. And everyone that's been chilling on this really extremely hot Wednesday. So I appreciate you guys sticking around. AJ, I feel like you were the kid growing up that had like a fruit roll up and would like whack people like you were a lick-a-tongue. Why do I feel that like that's not far off? I'm new to your channel. Well, first, welcome, CJ. Do you review photos sent to you? Yes, I do. So I'll just give this spiel really quick, and I'll kind of run through these, because I don't know if my power will maintain. If my stream ends, it's because my internet crashed. But on my TikTok, there's a pinned video called Grade Review and How To. So just give that a watch. It's about a 45-second video. It'll teach you everything you need to know about how to submit your cards into the Discord, including how to join the Discord. Again, it's completely free, but it is first come, first serve. However, if you want your cards graded faster, if you can't afford to wait for whatever reason, which I've seen a few people ask for, the Discord does offer a subscription, either in the server shop or the server subscriptions, depending on if you're on PC or mobile. And along with some other perks, you can subscribe. I think the cheapest one is $4.99 a month, where you get expedited grading service. So yeah, that's how you do it. But if you have any other further questions, definitely either let myself or some of the mods know that might be in chat. I don't know if Betty or Dream Scythe or Chris are still in here, or Poke even. But those are the main moderators of the TikTok side of things. They might be able to help you out. Yeah, of course, CJ. I'd roll up gushers in the roll-ups. Man, that's extra level sugar overload. I always like the man, what were the they weren't fruit by the foot, but they're like the fruit strips or whatever. Then like some of them would have like comics on them. What were those called? But they're like made by like the same company that made gushers and fruit roll-ups and stuff, but I can't remember what those were. The Genesect kid just sitting there on your computer, just decked out in some Ben 10 garb. It was a fruit roll-up, but it was like a sheet almost. It almost looked like a 4x6 like note card. But what was it still called? Fruit by the foot? I remember they come in like sheets. Like larger sheets, like a note card. And like some of them had like comics on them. I don't know. While you guys help me figure out, and we're going down this nostalgia hole, I'm gonna assess this Mew. So right off the bat, I think, and this is the first time I get to bust out the ruler that you guys can't see on stream. So the right side, so I have a physical ruler that I'm pressing up against the screen right now. So I'm measuring the right side. It was just fruit roll-ups, huh? So the right side is about 1/4 of an inch, and the left side is about 1/8 of an inch. So right off the bat, from what I can tell, and I always say as a disclaimer, always check my measurements, because again, I'm putting a ruler on a monitor, so it's probably not the most accurate measurement. But from what I can tell, the right side is thicker than the left. I'm probably about more than halfway. Smile. Holding a Nerf gun at a friend's house. You have to dual wield the Nerf guns. So yeah, I think I'm more than about halfway. So yeah, I don't think this Mew EX would get. Oh yeah, especially the whitening on that left side. I don't think this, and the centering. I don't think this would get the 10, unfortunately. So next, the Korean. A lot of people have been gravitating, especially for like Evolving Skies, quote unquote. The Eevee Heroes for Korean has been a really nice, like, affordable option if you just want to open up product. I don't think I'd get to you tonight, no, because normally how I do it is I'll let you know in advance when your cards will be graded. So if you weren't notified tonight, then you won't be reviewed tonight. Because I've had instances where I had like extra time and I was doing reviews, and people would message me like, "Hey, like I missed the I didn't get notified, but you still reviewed my card," and it kind of put me in an awkward spot. So, but yeah. But again, if you want your cards assessed faster, because again, it is first come, first serve, the Discord channel does offer subscriptions that you get expedited grade review. So if that interests you, definitely check that out. Yeah, I hear you, Alexander. And I'd say for some, like it just gives people a good opportunity if they just like the thrill of like the fun of opening cards. Gives like a more cheaper alternative, I guess. because even Japanese, right, is like crazy expensive. So Korean is like the most affordable option to open up Evolving Skies product. But I definitely get what you're saying for sure. Okay, so the Sylveon V with the pastries. Let's take a look. Centering looks good on the front, and the centering looks really good on the back. I don't see any obvious whitening on the corners, which is like the main issue for modern. I'd probably say this one's probably your best shot at a 10, from what I can tell, just based off of the centering on the front and the back. So kudos to you. And last is the gold rare Charizard EX. So again, centering is good on the front. The only thing, man, it's always a good thing to kind of be transparent about, because there are content creators that love to say if a card comes out of a pack, it's like, oh, here's the PSA 10 price. Like, oh my God, you just were able to pay off your house. It's like, well, no, it doesn't work like that, because this is a good example. This Charizard EX, which is most likely pack fresh from Obsidian Flames, we flip it over, and this was nothing wrong with this card, right, that this person did, this O-State, but most likely they opened it up, and this little white nick on that bottom left will prevent it from getting that PSA 10, unfortunately. So yeah. I can't get into your Discord because I don't own Discord. Well, Discord is free. It doesn't take that long to join. It just makes it a lot easier because you kind of put them in, all the pictures can just live in one space. So for me, it makes it so much easier to look at cards in Discord. So if you're kind of like on the fence, it's really not that hard to like create an account and get it all set up. It's not too bad. If you are interested in submitting your cards for grade review, because that's currently the only way that you can do it. You can't install it. Interesting. All right. All right. So next up. Well, first, thank you, O-State, for your submission. And next up, we have Skillix. I think I saw you in here, but I don't know if you're still in here. We are about to hit your nice little, like, Gen 4. Yeah, we got your little, like, Gen 4 pocket here. So let's let her rip. Okay. So, the centering. So, I'd say so far, I'm just measuring that bottom part. So we got a 1/4 inch on the bottom and almost 1/8 of an inch on the top. So from my measurements, Skillix, as your homework assignment, measure the top and bottom. Because from my end, it looks off center. From the bottom to the top, so it's thicker on the bottom than it is on the top, and it looks like, and I'll do the measurements on the right to the left as well. So the right is a 1/4 inch, and the left is good, actually, from what I can tell. So I definitely measure from the bottom to the top. And then the only thing that you might have to confirm for us is there is a little bit of it's interesting. It almost looks like there's a bend here. Or that might just be how the picture was taken by the light. So you can kind of... It's going to be very hard for me to try to articulate this. But it almost looks like right by the foot here, it gets really light, but then it's really dark, which normally means that there's a bend or something that's kind of like humped or bent here by the leg. Is that true? By chance? I'll kind of hover my mouse here if you want to check. No bend? Okay, so I'm just going to assume that it's probably just the lighting then. If I notice something similar on future cards, because I'm just going to assume that... Okay, Gryo. Well, I appreciate you hanging around for so long. I definitely appreciate the follow, and I look forward to seeing you in other streams. Okay, but yeah, but besides that, there's really not a lot of scratches that I can tell, at least from the picture. Again, just kind of take that with a grain of salt, but I don't really see much. But as for the back, we have a little bit of whitening there on the top, a small dot on that top left corner. But aside from that, have very minimal surface scratches on the back. The corners look really good. Honestly, the edges look really good with the exception of that top one. So let me do a chat vote because we haven't done this in a little bit. So I just started a new poll for this Dialga level X. If you guys want to vote on what you think this Dialga would get, the blue little clipboard should have popped up on the top left-hand corner of your device. If you want to weigh in on what you think this Dialga would get. So there is the front of the Dialga, and then there is the back. I would say most of the considerations probably going to be on the back, which is kind of this whitening here on the top. So I'll kind of leave that there for you guys to vote in. So while you guys are doing that, I'm going to catch up with chat. But yes, this is a very cool card for sure. Saw only a nick on the top of the front. Just saw it the other day. Gotcha. So yeah, it probably correlates with what we're seeing on the back too, would be my guess. Fear, thanks so much for following the live. I appreciate that. And if anyone else followed, I apologize if I missed you, but I also appreciate it. I appreciate all the follows, shares, and likes. Really does mean a lot. So I appreciate it as always. All right, let's see. We'll have fun in Pokemon Heaven, Gryo. Alright, so chat is thinking an 8. By 1 vote, chat was thinking an 8. So the front looks pretty good. I'd say right off the rip, unless the centering is different, which again, definitely do this in person. But so far, it is thicker on the bottom than it is on the top. Aside from that, I don't see anything else wrong with the corners, edges, or surface. So let's flip it over. And then as for issues, whitening issues, I see some here. I see pretty much only the 2 on the top. But as I'm looking at chat, so Skillix, if you're saying that you also saw a nick on the top of the front, in addition to what we're seeing on the back, I think with your information, I would probably say a 7 would be my guess. With that additional information that we can't see in this picture. All right. So next up, got the Garchomp C level X ABC 123 alphabet soup. The Garchomp C. I don't even know what that stood for, to be honest. But let's take a gander. The centering on this one's looking a lot better than the Dialga. And then again, based off of what we talked about before, it looks like that this lighting... Oh, I see. So it's Garchomp and then Cynthia. Got it. So the lighting is presumed to be just that, and this isn't like a crease or a dent or anything like that, so that's good to know. Corners, the centering looks good. I'm actually going to measure just to be safe. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Sand. So the right side is a 1/4 inch, and then the left side is just shy of a 1/4 inch, but I think it's within that 50-50, 60-40 ratio. So I think you're good. So centering and surface and corners and edges look good on the front. So hopefully it's the same on the back. And unfortunately we do have some whitening on the back. So that top left corner, the bottom left corner, the right edge a little bit, and then a little bit on the top and top right corner. So not like overall like too bad. But definitely kind of take you down a few pegs. So let me start a new poll here for you guys. So again, if you're new here, If you should see a little blue clipboard that popped up in the top left-hand corner if you want to weigh in on what you think this card would get as a PSA grade. Just tap that, and then you just select the number that you think it would be, and then the average would be what the chat grade would be. Hey, Roxas, nice long time no see. Glad to see you back in the stream. Hopefully everything has been going well. I know you said a while ago that you've been pretty busy with family and stuff, so it's nice to see you back. Hope all is good. But man, yeah, hopefully you guys are surviving this damn heat wave. This is crazy. Doing well. Put a Japanese Master Ball Gengar. Oh, you pulled one. That's sick. Congratulations. That's awesome. Congrats. That's super dope. All right, chat is thinking 7 or 6. You guys have been doing pretty good lately. I'm not gonna lie, in terms of predictions. Like I feel like I've been like copying you guys in the last like 2 or 3 streams. We're looking at a Garchomp C level X ABC 123 alphabet soup. So the front of the Garchomp C, centering, corners, edges, surface, looking great. The back is really where most of the issues are. Again, the whitening on the top left, bottom left, a little bit on that almost like the bottom right edge, and the top right. But aside from just the mild whitening, there's really no major scratches or surface wear or anything that I'm really like concerned with. So unless there is any major issues, because the centering looks pretty decent based off of what I'm using. Again, definitely do this in person, but I think it would probably be a pretty soft 7. If there's anything wrong with it else that we can't see, like for example, if there's like scratches here, especially that we can't see on this edge, because the edges are hollow that we can't see, it'd probably be a 6. So just kind of take that with a grain of salt, that it is a pretty soft 7. If there's anything else wrong with this, it'd probably be a 6. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, Rox, you're pretty spot on, I think. Okay. Next up, we got the Giratina level X. This Giratina needs no level C ABC 123. So let's get right into it. Centering, good. Corners, great. Promo is looking good. So far, so good. The surface is really nice. Man, these backs of these cards, Skillix, it's been pretty rough. Like, I know you probably had nothing to do with it, but man, it's just like the fronts of the, like, you are showing really good examples of really good binder cards, because the front of these are immaculate, but it's just the backs, like the whitening is really just what's kind of taking you back a little bit. So like the top left, top right, and center right, and bottom left, bottom right is pretty noticeable in terms of whitening. Man, yeah, so I'd say for this one might be a little bit easier, and it's gonna just kind of like give you my assessment just to kind of keep things moving on, because I just heard another thunder strike near my house. I'd probably say this probably get a 6. And if there's anything more significant, probably be a 5, but I think a 6, unless there's like dents or dings or bends in the card. But just from like all 4 corners being so noticeably whitened, and the whitening on that top middle and a little bit on that bottom left, you're probably looking at a soft 6, would be my guess. And then as for the Pikachu from Crown Zenith, which Crown Zenith has been kind of popping off a little bit lately, let's measure the centering. So the centering on the left, let's take a look. 1/4 inch on the left, and then 1/4 inch on the right. Perfect. So centering so far so good. And that right side looks a little bit thick. So that right side's a 1/4 inch. The left side is just shy of a 1/4 inch, so it's a little bit thicker on the right to the left. So you're probably looking at a 9. You might be able to squeak away with a 10, but probably a 9 would be my guess. I remember when this card was like a $50 card when it first came out. But yeah. Poke Pink, welcome back. We are starting to get close to yours. You're actually kind of back just in time, honestly. Because we have 3 more, and then we have yours. The suspense is killing me. Whatever shall we do? And I gotta kind of go a little bit faster because my internet already kind of pooped the bed a little bit. Yeah, Skillix, thanks so much for submitting. No, yours is coming up after this one, AJ. Because you just have the one that was in the queue. Because I normally try to stick with like 25 to 35. But you have your Umbreon VMAX coming up next. So yeah, I'm trying to go a little bit faster because I don't know if the internet will go out or not because of the thunderstorms. So we're gonna keep on keeping on. So tonight I start at 8 o'clock Civic, but welcome. Because 8 o'clock was kind of nicer, honestly, because it gave me a lot of time to... Because I've been, like, really falling behind on posting my VODs and stuff, so I just need a little bit more extra time. But yeah, I started at 8 o'clock this time around. Dream Scythe would say that I'm late, but I wasn't late. That's what she'll tell you. She'll try to convince you. She'll try to gaslight you into thinking I was late. But don't believe her. Alright, Venomoth. Jungle. Let's take a look. Centering, pretty good. Corners and edges looking pretty good. I do see a little scratch by the Venonat's little Tootsie there. So the surface a little bit impacted. As well as... So the Venomoth kind of has some added difficulty by the top horizon pretty much being solid white. So we see a lot of scratches here on that top right-hand corner. Bulmaro, thanks so much for sharing the live. Appreciate it. So as we flip it over, we do have some significant whitening that we notice right off the rip. So on the top middle, this whole like almost like crescent moon, bottom left corner, bottom right corner, and a little bit on that edge. So again, I apologize. I'm going to kind of boost it up a little bit faster because the thunderstorms are getting closer. So I would say for this one, just based off of the front and the back, the whitening you're probably looking at, because it's pretty aggressive in the bottom, but in terms of the front, the hollowing doesn't look too bad. Really, the only thing is just this main scratch, like kind of like on the front of the card. So, but then again, the edges on the back look really clean on this like left side. But it's really just the corners, the bottom corners. So, unless there's like more scratches that I can't tell, you're kind of like teetering around between a 6 and a 5. Like I don't think it's really worth grading all like just right off the rip, to be honest, because it's not first edition, it's unlimited, it's not a no symbol, meaning that the symbol still exists. Man, I'd probably say a very, very soft 6, if not a 5, somewhere around there. Probably a 6, to be honest, more than a 5. But if there's anything more wrong with it that I can't see, you're probably looking at a 5. So the Swampy Boy. We got for us swirl lovers, we got one by the little foot there, by the Swampert. The Swampert is staring at the swirl. Look at that. It sees it. Anyway, first edition, when they were still doing first edition stamps in Japan. So let's take a look. Centering looking pretty good. Hollow looks really good. No print lines. We should be good there. Yeah, pretty clean card. No whitening on the corners, which is really good. This I'm just going to pretty much assume that this was packed fresh. Because I see no whitening on those corners whatsoever. And the front also looks really good. I'm probably going to just measure, just to, if I had to be like really picky, I'm just going to measure that right to the left real quick. So it's just shy of a quarter inch on the right side and just shy of a quarter inch on the left. So yeah, I think you would probably be, so out of the two, this is probably your best PSA 10 contender. So I would probably, if you're trying to look for the 10, this would probably be your best bet. Because I think also that this can probably be wiped off. But the front is at least within that like kind of 50-50, 60-40 ratio, in my opinion. But yeah, I would definitely say submit that for sure. All right. So thank you, Bon Q, for your submission. Next up, we have the one, the only Fruit by the Foot cosplaying as Lickitung AJ. Yeah, of course, Bon. Of course, anytime. All right. So we got the Umbreon VMAX. So I should be able to, it's a little bit blurry, but it's okay. Because primarily, again, as long as I have, for modern specifically, as long as I have like this silver on the left and the right, it should be fine. So let's take a measure. So the measurement on the right side is a quarter inch. And then the left side is just shy of a quarter inch. Again, I would probably measure that, AJ. But that should be good. In terms of the back, it does look like, and you can confirm this, it's totally fine, AJ, about the lighting on the back. If you can confirm that you can wipe this off towards like the top right, it looks like a little bit of a fuzz or something. So on the top right, yeah, as well as right here towards like the middle left, if you can wipe those off, that will improve your surface grade as well. But with modern specifically, again, really the big thing that we're looking for is any whitened corners. The top left, top right, top left, bottom left, and bottom right. I don't see anything. So again, this might be a pretty good PSA 10 contender as well. So that might be good. So yeah, that would be my opinion. So before we go to the submission from Pokin Pink, who has been patiently waiting, last but certainly not least, Blake, I'll let you know how to join the Discord to submit your cards, because I'm sure you're not the only one. So if anyone is wondering how to submit your cards to get reviewed on a future grade review stream, I have a picture, hopefully soon, there we go, of the screenshot of a thumbnail of a pinned video that I have on my TikTok channel called Grade Review and How To. So if you watch that video, it's about a 45-second video. It'll teach you everything you need to know about how to join the Discord, what channel to submit your cards in, and most importantly, the instructions on how to properly submit your cards. Because again, it's very difficult for us, for example, to review cards that are in penny sleeves, top loaders, or graded. So that's how you do it. It's a completely free service. It is first come, first serve. So if you're looking for your cards, if you wanted your cards to be graded a little bit faster, the server also provides a subscription model. That the cheapest option is $4.99 a month, includes some other stuff too. But the biggest one that you guys probably care about the most is expedited grading service. So you get priority during our weekly grade review streams, which is every Wednesday. So that is how you do it. Yeah, no worries, AJ. I appreciate you lurking and putting in your cards. We definitely have some more for you for sure. But they'll definitely be in the queue for sure. Blake, thanks so much for following the live as well. All right. Drum roll, please. So, we have, last but certainly not least, Pokin Pink. Probably the one person I talk about the most when people ask me if I use card wax. A great example on how to do it right, in my opinion. So, if you haven't heard of her before, definitely check her out. If you want to know, anytime I ever hear someone ask me if I should use card wax, she is probably the best example on what to do. So, let us take a look. All right, so next up, we have a class is in session. Does anyone want to know or want to tell me what the error for this specific Chansey is? I'll give you some time to think. Yes. So does anyone know the error for this Chansey? Scratches on the hollow. Not quite. Yes, CJ, the black dot error. It's the black dot error for the Chansey. So you sometimes see those ink errors from time to time. Another one that is also Blastoise seems to have a lot of errors. So the other error for Blastoise is the red dot error, but the black dot error Chansey. So it's always cool to see that. Always fun to have a little history lesson for you collectors out there. Right. All right. So let us take a look. So first off, centering. Centering is pretty good. The corners looking really good. I'd say the only thing that I can see, and you can confirm whether or not this is ink or something that you can probably clean, is a little bit of something there. Almost looks like a mild red dot or dust or something like that. Probably get that cleaned off. But aside from that, we look at the text. Text looking pretty good. And I would also say that Chansey is definitely one of the harder cards to get as PSA 10s because normal types tend to be difficult. And the main reason is because the hollow background is primarily white or just colorless in general. Snorlax is another card that's very difficult to grade. So Chansey is right there. So we can kind of see some scratches here on that left side. So obviously that's going to have some impact on the surface grade. So let's flip it on over. And let's assess the back. So the centering on the back is looking pretty good. However, we do see on the top, we have 1, 2 on the top edge. And on the left edge looks actually pretty good. That bottom left, maybe something there on the bottom left, but not too much. And then it looks like I have a little bit of dirt or something stuck there on the bottom that can probably just be wiped off, no problem. And just some mild whitening on the bottom edge as well as that right edge. We have a little bit of whitening. But aside from that, we call that a pretty good binder card. So let me start a poll for the chat because we got to go out with a bang here. So a new poll should be active on your device now. So this is what we're going to do for the chat grade. So if you guys want to weigh in on what you think this black dot error Chansey would get as a PSA grade. So there is the front of the Chansey and there is the back. So if you want to weigh in, just tap that little blue clipboard in the top left-hand corner of your device and weigh in on what you think this Chansey would get. And as you guys are doing that, I'm going to catch up with chat. Looks like a 6. We got 7s. We got 6s. And Gryo is back from Pokemon Heaven. Coming back like a Solrock, the Meteor Pokemon I learned today. Abraham, thanks for the follow. And G, the Dawn, thanks so much for sharing the live. Appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for the support. You guys are awesome. I appreciate all the love and support. That's why I like to do this. Completely free. And yeah, you guys are the homies. All right. You didn't miss too much. You just missed some Pokemon. That's about it. Eric, thanks so much for the follow. And Poke, thanks so much for the Tiny Dimes and Donuts yet again. I was starting to get hungry. But unfortunately, as always, I am not an NPC and I don't have a sound installed yet for the donuts. So you'll just have to take my thanks as enough. All right. So the winning vote was, I just had it and I deleted it. 7-6. Not too bad. All right. So what do I think this Chansey, this black dot error Chansey would get? So centering, corners, and edges looking pretty good. We talked about that little dust or something we can probably just wiped off. So right off the rip, really the biggest focus for me personally is just the scratches. So I think we're starting to get into like the 7 or 6 territory. So you guys are spot on so far. But the rest of the back, the centering is good, but it's really just the little white dings on the edges, as well as some on the corners, but not as much. It's really the edges that is kind of taking this back. So I would say, my opinion, it'd probably get a 6. But still pretty good, in my opinion. Yep, there you go, Gryo. The Chansey is back. You are obsessed with the Chansey. Next up. Oh, thanks so much for the Heart Puff. Got the cotton candy, got the donuts. You guys are going to turn me into a little fatty McFat Snorlax. Fatty. Donuts and Heart Puffs. Nom nom nom. There we go. All right. So, we got the Mew with the Piece de Resistance swirl in the background. Gotta love them swirls. So, let's us review this Mew from Expedition base set. Some of the last few print sets that Wizards of the Coast or WotC ever made. Probably some of my favorite sets. So, we're at it again. So, Mew. So, obviously, the centering for e-readers is a bit difficult, right? Because we, like, clearly, if we're going to take it literally, this left side is exponentially thicker than the right. But really, how I tend to measure centering for e-readers is just to kind of look at this corner, the top right corner. If I notice anything, like if the top is thicker than the right or vice versa, it's a little bit off center on the front. But if I kind of look at this at first glance, nothing jumps out at me. So we're kind of chilling. However, the corners look a little bit bent on the top left, bottom left, and the top right. So we see some whitening on that top right-hand corner, some frayed edges on the top left, the bottom left. The Mighty Drex, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate it. And we see a little bit of some dirt here. That again, for those of you who are unaware, you can probably get that cleaned with either like a Q-tip and some distilled water or something similar to that. We have some whitening here that might be either dust or just something that's just kind of taken from the front. You couldn't clean that off? Okay, gotcha. So yeah, that'll probably have a little bit of impact. And we do have a little bit of scratching on the hollow, but not bad though. Kimber, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate it. But that a gorgeous swirl. Super nice. That Mew chillin'. So let's flip it on over. So the back, yes, we do have some whitening for sure. Not too, I was gonna say not too crazy, but as I'm looking more on like this right side, it's a little bit rough. Eric, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate it. So that top right, obviously, you can kind of see some whitening there. The top left, not as much. That left edge going pretty good. A little bit of whitening on the bottom left. But yeah, it's really more so on this right side, honestly. The bottom right, that right edge and the top right. It's really just more on that right side. So let's start a new poll, shall we, chat? There you go. New poll is active on your device now. If you want to weigh in on what you think this beautiful Mew from Expedition with the swirl, the booty swirl getting closer, approaching, would get. Gryo is asleep up in Pokey Heaven. Asleep on the job. You got to wake up. You got to vote in. Look at you. Sleepwalking and voting. Can't vote. I want 5 or 6. All right, I got you. Wow. My vote 5. All right. So we got more. So it looks like a majority of you guys are thinking the 5-4. The 5-4. So you guys are, man, you guys are pretty spot on, honestly. But again, yeah, it's really just the edges and the corners. That's kind of, this card was clean too. Wow. Yeah, it's definitely, we call in the business loved. The card was loved. But it's, yeah, it's really just like this right side is really what's kind of taking it back, the most for sure. I would say if there was like any sign of a bend on the front of the card, or anything like that, you're probably like dipping into like the 4 category. But I would imagine that you're probably looking at like a soft 5 would be my guess. Unless there's something I can't see for like a bend perspective. But you're probably looking at a 5. But if there's anything else wrong with it, like in terms of bending or creases or something like that, probably be more of a 4. I made a Pokemon card named Gryabone and Gryodon. Interesting. Well, in the media channel, as long as it's appropriate, and if you sign up for Discord, love to see it. If you're making your own Pokemon cards, it's pretty cool. All right, next up. Ooh, chat. Everyone, the one, the only, Moonbryon, Moonkitty, the OG, the shining light of Evolving Skies, the Umbreon VMAX, and the Heart Puff to follow by Poke Pink. Right? I do what I can. All right. So, the big question, right? The big question we all want to know for Modern. Will it get the 10? So let's do some measuring. So, before I do this, I never want to assume, right? So, for full arts like this, really the main way that you have to measure centering is this like white section of the side. So right here where the mouse is on the left side of the card, as well as the right side of the card. So this is really what we're kind of measuring in terms of ratio. So I'm going to, again, I always recommend this if I'm ever measuring one of your cards on stream, always do this in person as well, because my ruler is literally getting pressed up against my monitor right now. So when I press my ruler, it's a 1/4 inch on the left, and it is also a 1/4 inch on the right. So the centering on the front is in really good shape. So cross our fingers and hope that it's the same on the back. Okay, so measuring the right side. So the right side is, so from this angle, it's a little bit over a 1/4 inch. So we're almost hitting that 3/4. And it's also the same on the left edge too. So you might be within that tolerance. The only thing that I can think of, again, it might be, you might be able to just wipe it off, is these little white specks more towards like that top left back. But they look like just dust particles or something like that. But yeah, I would say like what Camo's saying, probably the only big thing that I would probably measure is just this side from the right to the left. Because based off of my measurements, it looks a little bit thicker on that right to the left, but you might be within that threshold. I would just double check. But this, I would say, if it were me personally, depending on what you got it at, and as well as this might be dust as well on this arm here, the bicep for all you lifters out there. I would probably just dust that off, and I would probably just submit this anyway. Because even if you were to get this as a 9, if you bought it for 500, you're still up a little bit. So I would probably, if it were me, I'd probably submit it after kind of dusting it off. Next up, man, we got, and I know bangers. This is a banger. The Lugia from Neo Genesis. With, again, she knows that we like the swirls. The Lugia staring down the swirl at the bottom of the card. So far, so good. Oh, yes, AJ. These are, every card that you're seeing right now is pinks. For sure. She is currently flexing right now. Like the Umbreon. The Umbreon and the Moon. But yeah, this Lugia is legendary. So, let us take a look. So, the left. I'm just going to take a measurement of that left real quick. So, the left is a little bit over a 1/4 inch. And the right is also slightly over a 1/4 inch. So we're so far we're looking good. So the centering is actually pretty decent. So again, Lugia, Snorlax, Chansey, the colorless Pokemon are very difficult to grade. Dragonite, because of just, you can obviously see that the scratches on the holo stand out a lot more than others. So you can kind of see some scratches here. So we're already kind of going into that 8-7 territory, but so far so good. So as we flip it over, let me measure again. So that left side's a little bit over a 1/4 inch. The right side is just at a 1/4 inch, so slightly thicker on the left than on the right. We do have a little bit of whitening on that top right-hand corner, though. But not too bad other than that. Let's see. A little bit of whitening there on the top left. We do have this scratch, though, unfortunately, that kind of goes down the left side here on that surface. So that will impact the surface a little bit. That's just some dust, I would imagine. The bottom left corner is really good. The bottom right, we got a little bit of whitening there. It looks pretty, yeah, it looks pretty straight pink. So I would imagine that is a print line to some degree, because it is just so straight down the middle. But yeah, let's rip a poll and let's see what chat thinks. So the poll should be active now. So if you want to tap that blue little clipboard in the top left-hand corner of your device, if you want to weigh in on what you think this card would get. So here's the front of the Lugia, pretty well centered on the front. Some mild scratching in the holo section. It's really just the back that's probably the most up for debate. So we have some whitening in the corners. We have what appears to be a print line, because just how straight and symmetrical that scratch is. But yeah, other than that, the Lugia from this is so nice. It's a really nice looking card. Yes, the Reggie's Gryo. I liked when they introduced the Reggies and you had to know Braille. That was pretty crazy. But yeah, Lugia is super nice. Man, and that Swirl too. Sucker. The sucker for Swirls, chat. Alright, so we're guessing 7 or 6. Man, you guys are pretty spot on tonight. It's been pretty crazy. I'm just copying you. You guys are just gonna think I'm just copying you guys, which pretty much I am. Got it for 120, man. Maybe it was from those same kids that tried selling you those fake cards. Maybe, you know, every now and again you get a good one, right? You get a good deal. All right, so the Lugia. Yeah, very mild scratches on the front, centered really well, corners looking good, edges looking good. No major scratches on the text. So if we flip it over, yeah, it's really just the mild whitening on the corners and the top right and the bottom right. But yeah, I don't think the scratches are bad enough to where I would say it's light play. Just how mild that print line is on the back. So yeah, I'd probably say a 7 too, honestly. Unless there's something else crazy that we can't see, I would probably still say a 7. I got scammed from an ice cream truck with a Pokemon card. You live a wild life, Gryo. Alright. So last but certainly not least, the Sylveon VMAX. So again, we are going to gonna put a wig on. That's funny. We are going to measure the centering of this white section border on the left and on the right. So let me put the almighty ruler up on the screen. So we got less than a 1/4 inch on the left, and we got the same on the right. So within the qualifications, which is good. So let's flip it on over. And I think, let's see. We do have a little bit of some dirt or something right there on that top right back. Unless that is not true. Again, if you're ever trying to submit cards for grade review, it always helps being present in the stream. Because now we can tell and ask Pink if her card is dirty or not. that might be something. That might be a little bit of dirt or something in that top right hand corner. But it might not be. Who knows? It looks to be though. So if it's not, let's assume that it's not, or that it can be removed easily. So if I put the old almighty ruler on the screen, so it's a little bit over a 1/4 inch on the top, and the same on the bottom, and then the left got a 1/4 inch, and the right we have a little bit over a 1/4 inch, but I think it's within the realm. But yeah, for those of you who are wondering for the deals, another good spot to look for deals is going to like local card shops for grading wise. Hopefully they don't grade everything that they get, or conventions or like trade shows. Trade shows, like stuff like that, are really good spots to get deals as well. So if you ever have an opportunity to go to like a trade show or a card show or an event like that, you can definitely pick up some pretty good deals doing that. So yeah, I would say if this is something that you can clean, if it is even something there, Pink, this would probably be a pretty good 10 contender, honestly. Because the centering on the front looks really good, and the centering on the back, and I don't see any whitening on any of the corners. Or if that's like a piece of dust on like the red part of that Pokeball, right where my mouse is. But yeah, I think that's a really good come up for sure. So I'd probably, if you can just like get rid of that, whatever is on the back of that, I would probably say that the Moonbryon, we're just getting those little dusties off on the forearm and the back, as well as getting the little dusties off on hopefully the red Pokeball part and that top right. I think those are probably your best 2 submissions for sure, if you were to get them graded. So yeah, that is tonight's grade review. That was probably the biggest grade review that we had. We had over 30 cards. We normally stick around 25. But thank you to Pink, and thank you to everyone that has submitted your cards for tonight. Again, if you're wondering, Galaxia, how do I submit my cards for grading? Well, let me teach you, chat. So you have a screenshot on your screen now on one of my pinned videos called Grade Review and How To. It's about a 45-second video. Just give that a watch. It'll teach you everything you need to know about how to join the Discord, what channel to submit in, all that fun stuff. It is free, but it is first come, first serve. If you want it to be expedited, or if you want your cards graded faster, the server also offers subscriptions. The cheapest one is $4.99 a month, which also gives you priority grading. And thank you for the roses. I appreciate that very much, Pink. Appreciate the love and support. And yeah, that goes for every one of you who have, followed, liked, shared the live. Definitely appreciate it. Again, this is something I like to do, is like I obviously have this as a side business, but it definitely means the world to me that you guys support what I do and like the community that surrounds this space. So it really does mean the absolute world to me that you guys show up and support and sending your cards in for grade review, because I get to look at cards that I can't afford, and I get to live vicariously through you guys. So it definitely means the world. You guys are awesome. So I'm hoping, as a little sneak peek, I'm hoping that I'm going to be doing a stream this weekend, testing out some new features. I don't want to spoil them quite yet, but I might be streaming this Saturday for a good amount of time, because I wanted to play Yellow Legacy for a while, Nuzlocke. So I've been super excited just to have fun, just kind of chill back with chat and play some games. So hopefully that'll be this weekend. So definitely join the Discord. Definitely follow the TikTok if you haven't already. And yeah, you guys are the best. I can't say it enough. And I'm going to launch the outro. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.